Chapter 45. In less than the time it took to drink a cup of tea, the two had already arrived at the foot of the mountain. It was already close to noon, and there were not many people at the foot of the mountain. Yi Fan was meticulous, and directly stopped a passing carriage. It was currently broad daylight, and flying in the air might cause a commotion among the crowd. In comparison, it was safer to take a carriage. After paying the other party 3 times the price, Yi Fan helped Fujiwara no Chiko into the carriage. Coachman was greedy, and the whip in his hand made a cracking sound. "Coachman, slow down. My wife is seriously ill, and can't withstand such torment," Yi Fan shouted from the carriage. This trip had to be extremely careful, and everything had to be like an ordinary person. If the carriage was too fast, it would definitely arouse the suspicion of the pursuers. "Okay," Coachman replied. "In a while, when we pass by a clothing store, you can help me buy 2 sets of clothes, 2 sets for each man and 1 set for each woman. Also, buy a roll of good cloth, and I want it to be red. Just buy the good ones, and I will give them to others. The cost will be calculated separately," Yi Fan continued. The two of them had to disguise themselves, and Fujiwara no Chiko's Japanese clothing was too eye-catching. "Okay. Money could make the world go round." The coachman agreed immediately after hearing that. "Who is your wife?" Fujiwara no Chiko asked Yi Fan with a pale face. "You," Yi Fan said. "It's close to the Spring Festival, and a young couple rushing home is the best identity." "Then why do you want to buy cloth?" Fujiwara no Chiko asked with a red face. "First, it can be used as a cover, and second," Yi Fan pointed to Fujiwara no Chiko's sword case on his back and said, "this thing of yours is too much of an eyesore. If you wrap it in cloth, people will think it's a gift and won't be suspicious." Before he left, he also put the flame sword into the sword case. What a sly fellow! At this time, the foundation fortifying pill had taken effect. Fujiwara no Chiko's skin began to redden, and sweat began to seep out of her forehead. Her physical strength also began to gradually recover. "It's not cunning, it's smart," Yi Fan said as he lifted the curtain slightly to observe the outside. "Why don't you ask me why I saved you again and again?" Fujiwara no Chiko asked. "If you want to tell me, you'll naturally tell me. If you don't want to tell me, it's useless for me to ask," Yi Fan said after putting down the curtain. "But you have to tell me how you were poisoned. What kind of goo poison is it?" "I only know that I drank poison, but I don't know what kind of poison it is," Fujiwara no Chiko replied. "You know that you drank the poison?" Yi Fan asked in surprise. "Then why did you? It's very simple. If you can't complete the mission, you have to die," Chizo Fujiwara said calmly. "What mission?" Yi Fan asked. "The weapon forging manual," Fujiwara no Chiko replied. Yi Fan frowned when he heard that. "Then why didn't you do anything? Why did you help the Yi family instead?" Yi Fan asked the question in his heart. "Because..." Fujiwara no Chiko paused for a moment. "Because I want revenge." "Revenge?" Yi Fan asked. "What kind of revenge?" "The revenge of killing my father." Fujiwara no Chiko gritted her teeth and said. Yi Fan wanted to ask more, but at this time, the carriage stopped. "Gongzi, we've arrived at the clothing store," Coachman's voice sounded. Yi Fan replied as he lifted the curtain to look outside. Sure enough, they had arrived at the famous clothing store Rue Fu Xiang. "I have to take care of my wife. You go buy it," Yi Fan said as he handed 2 golden leaves to Coachman. "Remember, it has to be the best quality goods." "Okay." Coachman took the golden leaves from Yi Fan and turned to walk into Rue Fu Xiang. "Go on, what revenge of killing your father?" Yi Fan asked as he lowered the curtain. Who knew that when he turned around, he would see Fujiwara no Chiko clutching her chest. Her brows were wrinkled and her skin was pale. She seemed to be enduring great pain. "What happened to you?" Yi Fan hurriedly supported Fujiwara no Chiko. Fujiwara no Chiko's throat was sweet and she suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The green canopy was instantly stained with scarlet blood, and Fujiwara no Chiko's veil was instantly blown off. It was only now that Yi Fan saw her true appearance. She was truly a peerless beauty. Her black hair was like a waterfall, her pair of beautiful eyes rippled, her eyebrows were like jade, her skin was like sheep fat, her eyes were bright, her lips were red and her teeth were white. She could be called a peerless beauty in the world. Yi Fan was immediately stunned by Fujiwara no Chiko's exquisite face. Fujiwara no Chiko waved her hand and leaned back, gasping for breath. After a while, she suddenly stood up and used her hand to wipe her face. Only then did she discover that her veil had fallen off. She angrily glared at Yi Fan and her face instantly turned red. "You alright?" Yi Fan finally reacted and spoke to break the awkwardness. The fuming Fujiwara no Chiko didn't speak. Her pair of beautiful eyes continued to glare at Yi Fan. She wanted to throw a tantrum, but she couldn't do anything. She was the one who had taken off her veil, so she couldn't blame anyone else. Yi Fan didn't know what to say under her glare. He could only stare blankly at her. "Have you looked enough?" Fujiwara no Chiko said while looking at the stunned Yi Fan. Yi Fan finally reacted and moved his gaze away from the exquisite face in front of him. It was simply too rude of him to keep staring at her. "Are you okay?" Yi Fan changed the topic. "It will act up at this time every day." Fujiwara no Chiko leaned her head heavily against the back and weakly said, "It's only a little better at night." Yi Fan understood a little after hearing this. It was noon, when the yang energy was at its strongest. It seemed that the poison in Fujiwara no Chiko's body would become abnormally active when it encountered the yang energy. On the contrary, it would only calm down during the cold night. Yi Fan was thinking about this when he heard Coachman's voice from outside the carriage. "Young master, everything has been bought. I wonder if young master is satisfied with it." "Oh, it's here," Yi Fan said as he pulled open the curtain and took the things that Coachman handed over. Fujiwara no Chiko immediately used her long sleeves to cover her mouth and nose, covering her face. Clothes and cloth were all available. The clothes were all made of the finest silk, exquisitely crafted. The cloth was also of the highest quality. Yi Fan was very satisfied after seeing it. "Young master, this is the rest of the money." Coachman handed the remaining gold leaf to Yi Fan. "Forget it," Yi Fan waved his hand, "keep these first. When we pass by the inn later, help me buy some food. My wife is seriously ill and can't stand the cold. I have to take care of her in the carriage." "Yes, young master." Coachman agreed and got on the carriage again. He waved the whip and continued on their way. "You rest first." Yi Fan unfolded the cloth and began to roll up Fujiwara no Chiko's sword sheath. "I'll call you later." Fujiwara no Chiko nodded and closed her eyes. The carriage moved at a moderate pace. Yi Fan recovered his spiritual power while thinking about what to do next. Fujiwara no Chiko's body was too weak now and she couldn't walk at all. It seemed that he could only carry her at night and fly in the air to reach Miaojiang as soon as possible. But he had already promised Brother Kim to meet at Fengming Mountain's Lingyun Cave in 3 days. What should he do? Looking at the sleeping Fujiwara no Chiko, Yi Fan made up his mind. He decided to carry Fujiwara no Chiko to Fengming Mountain's Lingyun Cave to see Brother Kim at night. With Brother Kim's unfathomable cultivation, he might be able to save Fujiwara no Chiko. Anyway, he would pass by Fengming Mountain on his way to Miaojiang. Let's do it this way. Yi Fan, who had made up his mind, began to concentrate on absorbing spiritual energy. In less than the time it took to burn a stick of incense, the carriage stopped. Yi Fan opened his eyes and looked outside. It turned out that they had arrived at the famous Moon Gain restaurant. This coachman was really considerate. He directly brought them to the best place. Anyway, he didn't have to spend any money. On the contrary, he could get more tips. "Young master, what do you want to eat?" Coachman got off the carriage and asked. "I want to buy some food that is easy to preserve." "Buy some more." You don't have to buy it at night. Yi Fan instructed. Okay. Coachman responded and left. Taking advantage of this time, Yi Fan woke up the sleeping Fujiwara no Chiko. Fujiwara no Chiko quickly opened her eyes. She woke up as if she was facing a formidable enemy. After seeing that it was Yi Fan, she breathed a sigh of relief. What are you doing? Fujiwara no Chiko asked. Change your clothes. Yi Fan put a white robe in Fujiwara no Chiko's hands. Your clothes are too eye-catching. It's easy to be discovered. Coachman went to buy food. I'll go down and check. After saying that, he took a set of clothes and got off the carriage. After getting off the carriage, Yi Fan carefully looked around. He took off his dirty green robe and changed into the green-gold robe that Coachman bought. This Rui Fu Xiang's clothes were indeed not ordinary. Not only were they very gorgeous, they were also soft and tight. Wearing them was both light and comfortable. After changing his clothes, he knocked on the carriage door. Are you ready? Yes. Fujiwara no Chiko's voice came from inside. Yi Fan opened the door and got on the carriage. Looking at Fujiwara no Chiko, she was wearing a white robe. Coupled with her delicate face and refined temperament, she looked like a fairy from a painting. Yi Fan looked at Fujiwara no Chiko. His eyebrows wrinkled even more. What, is it ugly? Fujiwara no Chiko did not understand why Yi Fan had such an expression. No, it's very beautiful. Yi Fan replied, just like a fairy from a painting. Then why are you frowning? Fujiwara no Chiko asked. This time, no matter what, I have to cure you. Yi Fan looked at Fujiwara no Chiko and said, no matter what the cost. Fujiwara no Chiko's body shook. Then she turned her head to the other side and did not say a word. I've bought the food. You should eat more. Yi Fan saw the coachman not far away walking towards them with a box of food. Yes. Fujiwara no Chiko replied. Yi Fan took the food box from coachman and opened it. Immediately, the aroma hit his nose and whetted his appetite. It was filled with easy-to-store jerky, preserved fruit, roast chicken and braised duck. At the bottom there was also a bottle of wine and a water bag. Yi Fan did not say anything. He tore off a large drumstick and handed it to coachman. You must be hungry. Fill your stomach first. Young master, you are too polite. Coachman was flattered. How would I dare to eat your food? Eat when I tell you to. Otherwise, how would you have the strength to drive the carriage? Yi Fan stuffed the drumstick into Coachman's mouth. Eat. Coachman saw this and thanked him. Then, he gnawed on the drumstick as he got into the carriage and continued on his way. Yi Fan only felt slightly relieved when he saw the coachman munching on the drumstick in big bite. No matter what, it was better to be safe than sorry. He put down the curtain and took out a silver needle from his pocket. He carefully pricked all the food and then observed the reaction of the silver needle against the light. The silver needle was normal and still shone brightly. Fujiwara no Chiko looked at Yi Fan's actions and did not say anything. When Yi Fan saw that the silver needle did not react, he tore off a small piece of each food and put it in his mouth. He even drank a mouthful of wine. He had no intention of letting Fujiwara no Chiko eat. Fujiwara no Chiko looked at Yi Fan's actions in confusion. She did not understand why Yi Fan would do this. I am hungry. Eat first. Yi Fan opened the water bag and drank a few mouthfuls. You can eat after the time it takes to burn a stick of incense. He then began to stuff himself with food. He was testing for poison. Fujiwara no Chiko suddenly understood Yi Fan's intention. She widened her eyes and looked in disbelief at Yi Fan, who was stuffing himself with food and drink. Tears began to well up in her eyes. Ever since her mother had passed away prematurely and her father had been harmed by a scoundrel, no one had ever risked their life for her. Those aristocrats who had come to propose marriage, and those licentious and lecherous young masters, which one of them had not come for her beauty? This young man in front of her was not only putting himself in danger, he was wholeheartedly trying to cure her. He was even willing to risk his life to test for poison. After revealing his true appearance, she did not see lecherousness in Yi Fan's clear eyes. Instead, she saw shock and concern. Every action of this man in front of her was beating her heart. Fujiwara no Chiko thought of this and snatched the food box. She stood up and snatched the water bag from Yi Fan's hand. Then, she used her hand to dig at Yi Fan's mouth. "Spit it out!" Fujiwara no Chiko shouted as she stretched out her hand. Ugh! Yi Fan, who was stuffing himself with food, was shocked by Fujiwara no Chiko's sudden action. He grabbed Fujiwara no Chiko's hand and swallowed the food in his mouth. Cough! Yi Fan coughed and said, "Are you crazy?" Cough, 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 "I'm choking." After saying that, he drank another mouthful of water. "Are you trying to murder your husband?" Yi Fan said after drinking the water. Fujiwara no Chiko looked at Yi Fan, who was pretending to be stupid. Without saying anything, she picked up a piece of jerky from the food box and stuffed it into her mouth. "Are you crazy?" Yi Fan quickly snatched the jerky from Fujiwara no Chiko's hand. "Are you tired of living? Then why are you still eating?" Fujiwara no Chiko looked at Yi Fan angrily and shouted, "I don't want you to die." Yi Fan put the jerky back into the food box and said calmly. Fujiwara no Chiko's eyes turned red and big drops of tears came out. "I'm a dying person, I'm not worth it." Fujiwara no Chiko wiped away her tears and said slowly, "I know very well whether it's worth it or not." Yi Fan said, "Don't think so much now. You just need to do 3 things well and leave the rest to me." "3 things?" Fujiwara no Chiko asked with red eyes. "Sleep. Go to the toilet," Yi Fan said with a smile. "Seriously, how do you feel?" Fujiwara no Chiko asked Yi Fan. "How do I feel?" Yi Fan asked back. "What else can I feel?" Fujiwara no Chiko asked anxiously. "Is there a problem with the food? Do you feel any discomfort?" "I don't feel anything now, I shouldn't." Before Yi Fan could finish his words, his face suddenly changed. He put his hand on his chest, his body tilted, saliva came out of his mouth, and his breathing became rapid. "What's wrong with you?" Fujiwara no Chiko immediately stood up to support Yi Fan, who was about to fall. There was indeed a problem with the food. This food. Yi Fan, who fell in Fujiwara no Chiko's arms, was pale and speechless. "You fool!" Fujiwara no Chiko could no longer bear the pain in her heart, and tears fell down. Looking at the man in front of her, who was willing to give up his life for her, Fujiwara no Chiko felt like a knife was twisting in her heart, and it was painful. This food. This food. Yi Fan gasped for breath. "I know." Fujiwara no Chiko nodded while crying. She wiped Yi Fan's saliva away with her hand, and the tears in her eyes fell on Yi Fan's face. This food. This food. Yi Fan panted as he spoke. "It made me choke." After saying that, he made a face at Fujiwara no Chiko, who was heartbroken. After that, he quickly stood up and looked at Fujiwara no Chiko with a smile. Fujiwara no Chiko was stunned, and she understood Yi Fan's prank. Fujiwara no Chiko was so angry at the scene in front of her that her chest heaved up and down violently. You're a bastard. It's just a joke. Don't take it seriously." Yi Fan said with a smile, "Okay, I won't tease you anymore. This food should be fine. Hurry up and eat." After saying that, he directly put the food box in front of Fujiwara no Chiko. "I'm not eating," Fujiwara no Chiko said angrily. "If you don't eat," Yi Fan put his face in front of Fujiwara no Chiko, who was blushing, "I'll feed you, okay?" Yi Fan said as he picked up a drumstick from the food box and put it in front of Fujiwara no Chiko's mouth. Fujiwara no Chiko, who was blushing, grabbed the drumstick and said, "I can eat it myself." After saying that, she took a big bite of the drumstick. "That's more like it," Yi Fan said as he looked at Fujiwara no Chiko, who was eating the drumstick. "Just now, you were worried about me." Fujiwara no Chiko spat out the chicken in her mouth, and her beautiful face was instantly covered with grease. She turned her head and looked at Yi Fan angrily, as if she wanted to eat Yi Fan alive. Chapter 46. 3 hours later, the sun had set. Yi Fan lifted the curtain and looked at the snow outside the carriage. He ordered coachman to stop the carriage. "Hey!" Coachman stopped the carriage. "Young master, what's the matter?" "Let's stop here," Yi Fan said. "Here?" Coachman was puzzled. "This is the wilderness and it's late. Someone will come to pick us up in a while." Yi Fan took out a golden leaf and handed it to Coachman. "Thank you for taking care of us, husband and wife. Please accept this as a token of my appreciation." "Young master, what are you saying?" Coachman was overjoyed and took the golden leaf. "Thank you very much, young master." "Wife, we should get off the carriage," Yi Fan said to Fujiwara no Chiko. "Yes," Fujiwara no Chiko replied with a red face. Yi Fan carried Fujiwara no Chiko and carried her out of the carriage. "Young master, why don't you and your wife rest in the carriage for a while?" "I will leave when the carriage picks you up," Coachman said. The amount of money he earned this time was much more than what he had earned in the past year. Furthermore, he had a very good impression of Yi Fan. Not only was Yi Fan generous, what was even rarer was that Yi Fan was very polite to a servant like him. "No need," Yi Fan said. "I will take my wife for a walk around here. You go first." "Yes." Coachman bowed to Yi Fan, turned around and got on the carriage. He turned around and waved the whip. In a moment, he disappeared in the snow. "Are you feeling better?" Yi Fan asked Fujiwara no Chiko. "Much better," Fujiwara no Chiko said. During the journey, Yi Fan took good care of her, and from time to time, he would annoy her. She felt much better now. She knew that Yi Fan was deliberately making her happy to ease her pain. When she was about to fall asleep, she had secretly looked at Yi Fan. His face was anxious and his brows were tightly knitted. He was not as calm as when he was teasing her. She saw everything and remembered it in her heart. "It seems that the poison in your body doesn't like the cold," Yi Fan said as he picked up Fujiwara no Chiko again. "Hold on tight." "What are you doing?" Fujiwara no Chiko asked hurriedly. "Up the mountain." After saying that, Yi Fan activated his movement technique and leaped into the sky. At this time, he had already recovered 40% of his spirit chi, so flying in the air was no longer a problem. Fujiwara no Chiko shouted. "This!" Fujiwara no Chiko looked at Yi Fan, who was floating in the air, and was stunned. She knew that Yi Fan's cultivation was not the same as before, but she did not expect that Yi Fan could actually fly in the air. Looking at the road that had become like sheep's intestines and listening to the sound of the wind, Fujiwara no Chiko felt like she was in a dream. She thought that her movement technique was not bad, and she was also a first-class expert in terms of speed. But compared to him, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. "Hold on tight," Yi Fan said as he began to activate his movement technique and floated to the mountain peak. Fujiwara no Chiko was so scared that she hugged Yi Fan's neck tightly. Yi Fan only felt that Fujiwara no Chiko's body was soft to the touch, and a delicate fragrance assailed his nostrils. The hands that hooked around his neck made Yi Fan's heart ripple. He really wanted to hold her like this, and fly like this for the rest of his life. But when he thought about the condition of Fujiwara no Chiko in his arms, he immediately calmed down. Grandpa Yi Yun said that the spirit-fortifying pill could only last for 7 days. Within these 7 days, she must be cured, otherwise, Yi Fan thought of this, and looked down at Fujiwara no Chiko in his arms, who was staring at him with wide eyes and a look of shock on her face. His eyebrows furrowed again, and he sped up his movement technique. "Where are we going?" Fujiwara no Chiko looked at Yi Fan's uncertain face, and did not know what he was thinking. "Qing Yun Mountain," Yi Fan answered her. "Qing Yun Mountain?" Fujiwara no Chiko had a puzzled look on her face. Yi Fan said, "It's the mountain where you saved me. Tonight we will spend the night there." Fujiwara no Chiko did not say anything after hearing this. In less than the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Yi Fan had flown halfway up Mount Azure Cloud. He stopped, and slowly landed in front of the cave where Fujiwara no Chiko had saved him. Revisiting this place made him sigh. Thinking about it, it had only been a few days since he was saved, and now that he was here again, the situation was completely different, and he was the one who saved her. Fujiwara no Chiko also had a lot of feelings, and the scene at that time was still vivid in her mind. Let's go in. Yi Fan helped Fujiwara no Chiko into the cave again. After entering the cave, the scene inside was the same as before, with a few blue stones and a thick mat of firewood. It was the place where he woke up. Beside the remaining fire, there was a 1-foot-deep pit that was very eye-catching. It seemed that Fujiwara no Chiko was right at that time. Hattori Chiyo, who had been frozen by his cold air, was indeed buried under the fire to defrost him. Yi Fan put down the food box and the cloth-wrapped sword case, and began to check if there were any wild beasts in the cave. The snow had sealed the mountain, and many wild beasts would look for natural caves to hide from the wind and snow. Fortunately, there were no living creatures in the cave. Fujiwara no Chiko took out a fire starter from her bosom, grabbed a handful of hay, and prepared to light the fire. You rest, I'll do it. Yi Fan helped Fujiwara no Chiko to sit on the straw mat, and took the fire starter and hay from her hand. He turned around and picked up a handful of firewood, and began to light the fire. The blazing bonfire made the originally cold and damp cave warm and bright. Yi Fan divided the fire into 2 piles, and placed the other pile at the entrance of the cave. This way, not only could it prevent the cold wind from blowing into the cave, it could also prevent the wild beasts from entering the mountain. He was careful, and used a tree branch to wipe away the footprints of the 2 people on the snow. Then, he returned to the cave, and used the stones in the cave to surround the fire at the entrance of the cave. This way, no one would be able to see the fire from outside. Yi Fan tidied up everything before returning to the cave, and sat opposite Fujiwara no Chiko. Are you hungry? As Yi Fan spoke, he took out a water bag and a roasted chicken from the food box, and passed the water to Fujiwara no Chiko. The roasted chicken was skewered with a tree branch, and slowly roasted above the fire. I'm not hungry. Fujiwara no Chiko took the water bag and drank a small sip. You're more tired than me, you eat. Yi Fan laughed. Thank you for your concern. Fujiwara no Chiko angrily rolled her eyes at Yi Fan. That piece of spiritual jade of yours is indeed full of spiritual energy, it's a treasure. Yi Fan said as he twirled the roasted chicken in his hand, but why is your body's spiritual energy still depleted? Although spiritual jade is full of spiritual energy, it still needs to recover, just like humans. Fujiwara no Chiko explained. After you wore it, the spiritual energy in the spiritual jade was almost completely absorbed by you, so it naturally needs to recover. So that's how it is. Yi Fan finally understood why the spiritual jade did not have any reaction when his spiritual energy was almost depleted in the Yi clan's ancestral home. It's about time to eat. Yi Fan passed the fully heated roasted chicken to Fujiwara no Chiko. Even if you're not hungry, you still need to eat. Now that your body is weak, you need to eat more. Okay. Fujiwara no Chiko took the roasted chicken from Yi Fan's hand. Ever since Yi Fan pretended to be poisoned, her personality changed greatly. She listened to Yi Fan's every word. Yi Fan also felt this change. Although he kept calling her his wife, she was only pretending to be angry. She did not have the cold and unapproachable appearance that she used to have. Yi Fan got up and walked to the sword sheath wrapped in red cloth. He took out the sword sheath, opened it, and took out Fujiwara no Chiko's Chiho sword. With a swish, he pulled the sword out of the sheath. Cold and murderous aura filled the air. Yi Fan held the shining Chiho sword and walked in front of Fujiwara no Chiko. Fujiwara no Chiko looked puzzled as Yi Fan approached her with the long sword in hand. Put this sword beside you. Use it to defend yourself. Yi Fan bent down and put the sword beside Fujiwara no Chiko. If someone comes near you, just hack at them. No matter who it is, don't show mercy. Yi Fan said and turned around. Where are you going? Fujiwara no Chiko asked. I'm going to guard the entrance of the cave. You just sleep peacefully. Yi Fan said, I'll call you when the time comes. Is it not safe here? Fujiwara no Chiko said, there shouldn't be any problem. It's better to be safe than sorry. Yi Fan said, if you hear a sound at the entrance of the cave, quickly put out the fire and take the opportunity to escape. Yi Fan continued. The people who can hunt you down are not ordinary people. Yi Fan said and was ready to leave. Wait a minute. Fujiwara no Chiko called Yi Fan. What other orders do you have? Yi Fan smiled and turned around. You take the Lihua sword. Fujiwara no Chiko said, first of all you have spiritual power. If you encounter a strong enemy, you can use the power of the Lihua sword. Second of all, Fujiwara no Chiko whispered, the Lihua sword is also very warm. It's too cold at the entrance of the cave. Wife is right. Husband will do as you say. Yi Fan said jokingly while taking out the Lihua sword, turned around and walked to the entrance of the cave. Chapter 47. It turned out that the Fujiwara family was a famous weapon family in Japan. Their ancestor, Fujiwara Muramura, was a famous swordsman in the Edo period. He was good at forging all kinds of weapons, especially swordsmanship. The katana he forged was not only gorgeous but also extremely sharp. It was deeply loved by the nobles and the samurai class at that time. Because his name, Muramasa, was engraved on the blade, everyone called the blade he forged Muramasa blade. Because it took a long time to forge a good blade, there were not many of them, and it was difficult to find one. As a result, many people who could not afford the blade he forged carved the word Muramasa on their cheap blades to express their love for the Muramasa blade. Fujiwara Muramasa's most famous blade was called Chiko Muramasa. It was extremely sharp, and it had easily cut a huge stone millstone. It became famous for a while. Although they were both weapon families, the Fujiwara family was different from the Yi family. Fujiwara Muramasa's weapon forging technique was not only passed down to his family, but also to his last disciple. In the generation of Fujiwara no Chiko's father, Fujiwara Kaga, the forging technique had already produced 3 branches. As for Muramasa blade, there was no one in Japan who did not know him. Especially the famous blade, mystic technique Muramasa, forged by Fujiwara Kaga, was the most famous. Fujiwara Kaga believed in Buddhism, so when he was forging the blade, he asked his good friend, Hualien, to recite the Lotus Sutra for 3 days and 3 nights beside the knife furnace to resolve the hostility of the blade. On the day the blade was completed, auspicious clouds shrouded it. When the blade was unsheathed, white light was everywhere. There was a clanking sound, and a faint dragon pattern was wrapped around it. Fujiwara Kaga was overjoyed when he saw it. Unexpectedly, Hualien frowned slightly and told Fujiwara Kaga that although the blade was supported by his chanting, it was still a blade after all. It still had a trace of murderous intent. It was best to carve a sutra on the blade to suppress this murderous intent. Fujiwara Kaga listened to Hualien's opinion and carved a sutra of the Lotus Sutra on the blade. He named the blade Mystic Technique Muramasa. After Fujiwara Kaga obtained the blade, he played with it every day and was very happy. Unexpectedly, this matter was found out by Tokugawa Ieyasu's retainer, Matsumoto Takeyoshi. This Matsumoto Takeyoshi was an expert in sabers and swords. After learning about this matter, he personally paid a visit, hoping to have a look. When he saw the mystic arts Muramasa, he was immediately fascinated by the blade. On the spot, he wanted to buy it with a lot of money, but Kaga Fujiwara was unwilling to part with it. Even in the face of Matsumoto Takeyoshi's sky-high price, he was unmoved. When Matsumoto Takeyoshi saw that he had failed to buy a knife, he suppressed his anger and left resentfully. After returning, Matsumoto Takeyoshi stayed up all night. His eyes were filled with the shadow of the mystic arts Muramasa. He was a narrow-minded person who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. This time, he had come in high spirits but returned in disappointment, which made him very angry. He pondered for a moment and came up with a plan. Matsumoto Takeyoshi immediately wrote a letter and sent it to Tokugawa Ieyasu's hands overnight. In the letter, he said that Fujiwara Kaga had the intention of usurping the throne and was forging a demon sword at home, preparing to assassinate Tokugawa Ieyasu. After Tokugawa Ieyasu read the letter, he was furious. He had been disgusted with the Muramasa blade for a long time. He once called the Muramasa blade demon sword. The reason was very simple. First of all, when his grandfather Matsudaira Kiyoyasu was fighting with his archenemy Oda family, he was cut in half from his right shoulder to his left abdomen by his retainer, Abe Mishikiro, who suddenly went crazy for no reason. After the investigation, the long sword in the hands of his retainer, Abe Mishikiro, was the famous Chiko Muramasa of the Fujiwara Muramasa. Since then, the nightmare of the Tokugawa family began. In the 14th year of astronomy, Tokugawa Ieyasu's father, Matsudaira Hongjong, was cut in the thigh by his retainer, Iwamatsu Bami. Blood flowed like a stream. Coincidentally, Tokugawa Ieyasu's son, Nobuyasu, was suspected of colluding with the Takeda family, Tokugawa Ieyasu's archenemy, and committed seppuku. The knife he used to commit suicide was also the Muramasa. Even Tokugawa Ieyasu's finger was cut by the Muramasa spear in the hands of the enemy's general when he was resisting the enemy. All signs indicated that the Muramasa blade was an ominous object, an evil blade. Since then, Tokugawa Ieyasu was very disgusted with the Muramasa blade and called it the Muramasa demon sword. When those who opposed Tokugawa Ieyasu heard about this, they all asked to buy the Muramasa blade. Those who couldn't get it carved the word Muramasa on their blades, hoping to be able to kill Tokugawa Ieyasu in the future. Tokugawa Ieyasu originally wanted to find an opportunity to ban the forging of the Muramasa blade. Now that he knew that Fujiwara Kaga wanted to rebel and kill the emperor, he was furious and immediately issued an order to put Fujiwara Kaga in prison and immediately execute him after interrogation. The mystic art Muramasa was destroyed. In addition, the name of the Muramasa was abolished, and no one was allowed to use the Muramasa blade. Otherwise, they would be killed without question. Tokugawa Ieyasu's order was like a stone that stirred up 1,000 waves. The top officials, the middle noble warriors, and the bottom civilians all handed in the Muramasa blade and destroyed it. Even those who secretly carved the word Muramasa on the blade immediately erased these two words. At that time, Fujiwara Chiko was only 8 years old. Because she was too young, she was spared the death penalty. However, she could not escape punishment. At such a young age, she was still sent to the palace to be a servant. Tokugawa Ieyasu ordered people to compile a story and spread it out, saying that the Muramasa demon sword was extremely ominous. There was a person who got the Muramasa demon sword and sleepwalked in the middle of the night to kill his sleeping wife. There was a thief who stole a Muramasa demon sword and was found dead at home the next day with the Muramasa demon sword in his body. There were countless similar stories. In short, the Muramasa blade was a demon sword. Under the nurturing of the shogunate and the people, the Muramasa blade was crowned as a demon sword and became a taboo in everyone's mouth. After this great change, Fujiwara Chiko had also changed from a spoiled rich girl to a lowly servant. At such a young age, she had to clean the toilet and wipe the floor every day. Not only did she have to do tiring work like emptying the toilet and wiping the floor, but she was also bullied by those senior servants. Every night, she washed her face with tears. There were several times when she wanted to die. However, when she thought of her father, Fujiwara Kaga, who usually regarded her as the apple of his eye, being framed and killed, her young heart was filled with the flames of revenge. She couldn't die. She had to live. One day, she would avenge her father with her own hands and kill the enemy with her own hands. Since then, the young Fujiwara no Chiko began a life of enduring humiliation. No matter how bad the food was, she had to eat it. No matter how much scolding and beating she received, she had to endure it. In the blink of an eye, 2 spring and autumn passed. However, God was fair. When He closed a door for you, He would naturally open a window for you. By chance, she met someone in the imperial palace, an acquaintance. The appearance of this person ignited hope in her heart. This person was dressed in a monk's robe and had a dignified appearance. This person wasn't anyone else. He was the tantric expert who discovered the blood phoenix spirit jade. Her father, Fujiwara Kaga's close friend, Master Kongwon. Because Fujiwara no Chiko was a lowly servant, she had to stop in her tracks and bow when she saw an important guest. When she saw Master Kongwon, she immediately stopped in her tracks. Suppressing her thumping heart, she retreated to the side and bowed her head. When Master Kongwon passed by, she said something that made him extremely shocked. "I'll let Master take 9 pieces, how about that?" Fujiwara no Chiko said this sentence in an extremely low voice. However, this sentence made Master Kongwon's heart truly shocked. Apart from diligently practicing Buddhism, Master Kongwon's biggest hobby was playing Go. In the past, he had a pleasant conversation with Fujiwara Kaga, who was also a Buddhist. What made him even happier was that this Fujiwara Kaga was also a Go expert. Every time the two played Go, Fujiwara Kaga would jokingly say, "I'll let Master take 9 pieces, how about that?" After hearing this sentence that couldn't be more familiar, Master Kongwon immediately stopped in his tracks. He carefully sized up this 10-year-old little girl in front of him. "You are." Master Kongwon looked at Fujiwara no Chiko, who bowed her head in greeting, and asked suspiciously, "Master." Fujiwara no Chiko saw that there was no one around and whispered, "It's me, Fujiwara no Chiko. It's actually you." Master Kongwon's face was full of shock. "You're really here." He immediately pulled Fujiwara no Chiko to an empty pillar at the side of the palace and lowered his body. "Buddha bless you! You're still alive!" Master Kongwon exclaimed in surprise. "Master, please save me. Think of a way to get me out." Fujiwara no Chiko held back her tears and whispered. She didn't dare to cry out loud. Otherwise, it would arouse suspicion. "Don't worry, I'll think of a way." Master Kongwon looked around vigilantly and said, "Now is not the time to talk. Just do what you need to do as usual and wait for my news." Looking at the only daughter of his former good friend, Master Kongwon couldn't help but sigh in his heart. When the Fujiwara family was in trouble, he was out traveling. After hearing the news, he hurriedly rushed back. Unfortunately, when he arrived at Fujiwara Kaga's home, it was already empty. After asking around, he found out that Fujiwara Kaga had been killed. Although his only daughter Fujiwara no Chiko was spared, she was taken to the palace and became a servant. Master Kongwon wanted to save her, but the palace was strictly guarded. How could he enter as he wished? Helpless, Master Kongwon could only silently pray for Fujiwara no Chiko in front of the Buddha statue every day, hoping that the only child of the Fujiwara family could live on safely. On this day, Master Kongwon was chanting scriptures in front of the Buddha. Suddenly, he felt his inner thoughts churning. He was no longer as calm as before. Just when he was puzzled, Fujiwara Kaga's figure suddenly appeared in front of him. After bowing to him, he suddenly disappeared. He, who had practiced Buddhism for many years, understood that Fujiwara Kaga's spirit must have a request for him. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to appear in this solemn hall. After chanting, he returned to the monk's room and carefully thought about what had just happened. Just when he was deep in thought, there was a knock on the door. The knock on the door was very urgent. It seemed that there was something urgent. Master, General Tokugawa sent someone to invite you over, said the servant outside the door. Sure enough, there was something. Master Kongwon immediately got up, opened the door and walked out of the hall. What's the matter? Master Kongwon asked the servant. General Tokugawa was disturbed by a nightmare last night. Master, please go over to interpret the dream and pray for blessings, said the servant. Oh, I see, said Master Kongwon. Got it. Tell them that I'll go now. After Master Kongwon finished speaking, he waved his hand and dismissed the servant. The servant bowed and retreated. After the servant left, Master Kongwon turned around and entered the hall again. He put on his kasaya and took his staff. After tidying up, he walked out of the temple. As soon as he walked out of the temple, he found a very small whirlwind following behind him. Brother Fujiwara, I understand what you mean. Master Kongwon stopped and turned to the small whirlwind and said, Don't worry, I will do my best to save Chico. As soon as his voice fell, the whirlwind seemed to understand and disappeared. Okay. After hearing this, Fujiwara no Chiko nodded and immediately pretended to be as usual. She picked up the water basin in her hand and went to wipe the floor. Master Kongwon also immediately got up and continued to walk into the palace as if nothing had happened. After seeing the pale and bloodless Tokugawa Ieyasu waved his hand and dismissed the guards around him. He personally invited Master Kongwon into the inner room and told Master Kongwon about what happened last night. Only then did great Master Kongwon know that Tokugawa Ieyasu had a nightmare last night. In the dream, those people who had been killed by Tokugawa Ieyasu surrounded Tokugawa Ieyasu and attacked him with punches and kicks. What left a deep impression on him was that Kaga Fujiwara was among them. He looked at him coldly with a smile that was not a smile, making people shudder. So that's how it is. Master Kongwon frowned after hearing this. The general's sin of killing is too heavy. Many innocent people have died under the general's sword. The ghosts in the dream last night must have come to take the general's life. Master Kongwon continued, if it wasn't for the general's lifespan, he would have been taken away by these ghosts. At first, I thought it was just an ordinary dream. Who would have thought? Tokugawa Ieyasu said as he unbuttoned his clothes. Master, please take a look. The scene in front of him made Master Kongwon gasp. Tokugawa Ieyasu's body was covered with bruises. What was even more shocking was that there were many black handprints. At first glance, it was obvious that he had been pinched and beaten. When I woke up this morning, I found these bruises. It's very obvious. Tokugawa Ieyasu put on his clothes. It was done by the ghosts last night. Did they say anything to you in the dream? Master Kongwon asked. Tokugawa Ieyasu shook his head. It seems that the general needs to perform a ritual to release those ghosts, Master Kongwon said. Everything will be arranged by the master. Tokugawa Ieyasu said. If you have any requests, please do not hesitate to ask. Releasing the ghosts is only a temporary solution. Master Kongwon said. The most important thing is that the general must not kill again. You must be merciful and do more good deeds. In this way, you will be able to avoid disasters and everything will be auspicious. Please enlighten me, Master, Tokugawa Ieyasu said respectfully. The general has killed countless people in his life, resulting in too much killing. Master Kongwon said. Now that there is no war, the general can reduce and exempt taxes, care for the suffering of the people, and grant amnesty to the world. In this way, the general's merit is boundless, the people love and respect you, the world will be peaceful, and the gods will protect you. All calamities will naturally vanish like smoke in thin air. Master Kongwon is right. Tokugawa Ieyasu was enlightened. Tomorrow, I will issue an order to reduce and exempt taxes and grant amnesty to the world. The general is wise. Master Kongwon said. Tomorrow, I will hold a water and land assembly to release those ghosts. Thank you, Master. Tokugawa Ieyasu was relieved. After leaving Tokugawa Ieyasu's inner room, Master Kongwen felt gratified. This time, not only did he save Fujiwara no Chiko, but he also did a good deed for the people. It was really Buddha's blessing. After meeting Master Kongwen, Fujiwara no Chiko had been waiting at the entrance of the imperial palace, anxiously waiting for Master Kongwen's good news. Whether or not she could leave this place depended on this. Master Kongwen's reappearance made her heart jump to her throat. She suppressed her beating heart and once again retreated to the side and bowed. "I will come to pick you up tomorrow." When Master Kongwen passed by her, he whispered something that made her extremely excited. "Free. I will be free tomorrow." Fujiwara no Chiko couldn't hold back her excitement. She secretly ran to a place where no one was around and burst into tears. 2 years, 2 whole years. She had been starving and being bullied in this place for 2 winters and summers. Now that Master Kongwen had saved her from the abyss of suffering, all the grievances in her heart suddenly came out. After crying, she once again pretended as if nothing had happened and went back to work. Although she didn't know how Master Kongwen did it, she knew that Master Kongwen was an eminent monk. Since he said that he would pick her up tomorrow, he would definitely do it. Today was the first day that she felt the happiest in 2 years. When she went to bed at night, she tossed and turned, unable to sleep, anxiously waiting for the arrival of the next day. The long night finally passed. Chapter 48. After Fujiwara no Chiko simply tidied up, she was escorted out of the palace gate. The moment she stepped out of the gate, she felt an unprecedented sense of relief. She was only 10 years old. 10 years old. Children of the same age didn't know how to take care of themselves, but she had already taken care of others for 2 years. Fujiwara no Chiko didn't even turn her head, and directly walked towards the smiling Master Kongwen. What made her feel strange was that there was a person she didn't recognize standing beside Master Kongwen. This person was dressed in white, with a veil over his face and a long sword at his waist. "Thank you for saving my life, Master." Fujiwara no Chiko walked in front of Master Kongwen and knelt down on the ground with a thump, giving him a big bow. "Chiko, you've suffered, quickly get up," Master Kongwen said as he helped Fujiwara no Chiko up. Looking at this young but sensible child, Master Kongwen looked up to the sky and sighed. "Fujiwara bro, Chiko has been rescued, you can rest in peace." "She's Fujiwara no Chiko?" the person beside Master Kongwen said. It was a man's voice. "That's right, she's Fujiwara Kaga's only daughter, Fujiwara no Chiko," Master Kongwen answered while saying to Fujiwara no Chiko, "Chiko, quickly come and greet your master, Ito-san." "Master?" Fujiwara no Chiko's face was full of confusion. "That's right. You'll follow Ito-san from now on." Master Kongwen turned to the man in white. "I'll leave Chiko to you." The man in white nodded. "Chiko," Master Kongwen lowered his body and pressed his hand on Fujiwara no Chiko's shoulder. "Although you're free now, people's hearts are unpredictable and unpredictable. Although your days in the Imperial Palace are tough, they are very safe. After all, not just anyone can enter the Imperial Palace. Now that you have regained your freedom, those who framed your father may come looking for you in the future. I am a monk, I can chant Buddhist scriptures and exorcise demons, but when it comes to protecting your safety, this Ito-san is more suitable for you than me. He will be your master from now on. You have to listen to him and learn from him. One day, you will be able to bring glory to the Fujiwara clan again," Master Kongwen said as he pulled Fujiwara no Chiko into his arms. "Do you understand?" "Yes," Fujiwara no Chiko said with tears in her eyes. "I understand." At this time, she had no one to rely on. Master Kongwen was the closest person to her at this time. He didn't expect that he would have to part ways with Grandmaster Kongwen just as he regained his freedom. Thinking of this, she looked at the man in white. The man in white was also looking at her expressionlessly. "All right." Master Kong got up and held Fujiwara no Chiko's hand as he walked in front of the man in white. "Call me Master. Master." Fujiwara no Chiko knelt on the ground. Although she was young, she had seen all kinds of situations in the imperial palace and was familiar with all kinds of etiquette. In the past 2 years, the young Fujiwara no Chiko had become more thoughtful and mature. "Yes." The man in white nodded and said, "Get up." Fujiwara no Chiko got up and stood to the side. "Don't worry." The man in white said to Master Kong, "I will do my best." Master Kong nodded. "Chiko, it's getting late. Go with your master. If there is a chance in the future, I will come and see you." Master Kong said to Fujiwara no Chiko. Fujiwara no Chiko nodded sensibly with tears in her eyes. After the man in white nodded to Master Kong, he took Fujiwara no Chiko's hand and turned to leave. Looking at Fujiwara no Chiko, who kept looking back at him, Master Kong hardened his heart and turned to leave with large strides. Fujiwara no Chiko followed her master, Ito Fumio, to a noodle house called Yoshino Ramen. The master and disciple found a private room and sat down. "Are you hungry?" Ito Fumio asked Fujiwara no Chiko. "Yes." Fujiwara no Chiko replied. "A large bowl of bone broth ramen." Ito Fumio said to the owner. The ramen here was very famous. The ingredients were exquisite and the broth was rich. He often came here to buy ramen and was familiar with the owner of the noodle house, even though he always packed it away. A large bowl of steaming hot ramen was quickly served. There were barbecued pork, eggs, bamboo shoots, pickles, stewed meat, corn, chopped green onions, seaweed, and seaweed. The rich side dishes and the rich aroma made Fujiwara no Chiko, who ate plain tea every day, salivate. Ever since she entered the palace and became a servant, she had never eaten authentic ramen. Although she was salivating, she still pushed the bowl of ramen in front of her master Ito Fumio. "Aren't you hungry? Why aren't you eating?" Ito Fumio said. "Master, eat first." Fujiwara no Chiko swallowed her saliva while staring at the ramen. Ito Fumio was stunned for a moment and then said, "I have already eaten. You eat first." After saying that, he gently pushed the bowl with his index finger and middle finger. Before his fingers touched the bowl slid in front of Fujiwara no Chiko. Fujiwara no Chiko was immediately shocked speechless by Ito Fumio's magic. "Eat the ramen," Ito Fumio said calmly. "Okay." Fujiwara no Chiko regained her senses and began to wolf down the ramen. No matter how good the magic trick was, it could not satisfy her hunger. Right now, filling her stomach was the only thing she wanted. Soon, a large bowl of ramen was devoured by Fujiwara no Chiko like a tornado. Fujiwara no Chiko put down the chopsticks and stared at Ito Fumio, then looked at the bowl without saying anything. "Boss, give me another bowl." Ito Fumio called out to the boss again. Just like that, Fujiwara no Chiko ate 3 bowls of bone broth ramen before she sat down on the cushion with a satisfied burp. This ramen was too delicious. If it wasn't for her bloated stomach, she would have eaten another bowl. "Are you full?" Ito Fumio asked. "Yes." Fujiwara no Chiko replied. "Let's go." Ito Fumio took out some money from his pocket and put it on the table, then walked out of the noodle house with Fujiwara no Chiko. "Master." Fujiwara no Chiko raised her head and said to Ito Fumio while walking, "Where are we going?" "Mount Fuji." Ito Fumio replied. "Do you live in Mount Fuji?" Fujiwara no Chiko continued to ask. "Yes." Ito Fumio replied. "Alone?" Children always have so many questions. "Now it's 2 people." Ito Fumio said. Fujiwara no Chiko replied. The two talked as they walked toward Mount Fuji. 2 hours later, the master and apprentice arrived at the foot of Mount Fuji. Mount Fuji, the highest mountain in Japan, is located at the border of Shizuoka Prefecture and Yamanashi Prefecture. It is a huge volcano, the mountain peaks are high into the clouds, and the peak is covered with snow. From afar, it looks like a fan hanging upside down in the air, so it is also called jade fan. Looking at Mount Fuji in front of her, Fujiwara no Chiko's eyes turned red. When her father Fujiwara Kaga was still alive, he often took her here to play. She clearly remembered that every time she couldn't walk, her father would let her ride on his neck. Those were the happiest days of her life. Now that her father has passed away, the beautiful scenery in front of her didn't make her happy. Instead, it made her feel nostalgic. Fujiwara no Chiko looked at the beautiful scenery in front of her, thinking of the past, and tears flowed down in pairs. She wiped her tears with her small hands, bit her lower lip, and tried not to cry out loud. "If you want to cry, then cry," Ito Fumio said calmly. He already learned about Fujiwara no Chiko's life from Master Kongwon. To be honest, such a big ordeal shouldn't happen to such a young Fujiwara no Chiko. What? After hearing Ito Fumio's words, Fujiwara no Chiko could no longer control the grief in her heart and burst into tears. Ito Fumio was silent, letting Fujiwara no Chiko cry to her heart's content. Such a big pain in her heart, if she doesn't vent it out, she will get sick. Fujiwara no Chiko cried for half an hour before she slowly calmed down. Looking at Fujiwara no Chiko, whose eyes were swollen like peaches, Ito Fumio touched Fujiwara no Chiko's head. "Chiko, follow me up the mountain," Ito Fumio said. "Okay." Fujiwara no Chiko sobbed as she wiped her tears and replied. Ito Fumio held Fujiwara no Chiko's small hand and slowly walked towards the top of Mount Fuji. The two walked for less than an hour and arrived at the mountainside of Mount Fuji. At this time, the air has become very cold, different from the warm climate at the foot of the mountain. Fujiwara no Chiko, who was wearing thin clothes, began to shiver from the cold. Seeing this scene, Ito Fumio immediately stopped and bent down to pick up Fujiwara no Chiko with one arm. "Master, I can walk by myself," Fujiwara no Chiko replied. "Hold on tight," Ito Fumio said to Fujiwara no Chiko. "We'll be there soon." After saying that, he used his movement technique and dashed on the rugged mountain road. Ito Fumio's feet did not touch the ground, as if he was floating on the ground. He quickly flew towards the top of the mountain. At this time, Fujiwara no Chiko, who was in his arms, was surprised and happy. She was surprised because she had never flown like this before, and happy because her master was so powerful. In the future, if she learned this skill, she would be able to personally avenge her father. Sure enough, as the two got closer to the top of the mountain, the temperature of the air became colder and colder. Although the young Fujiwara no Chiko was in Ito Fumio's arms, she was still shivering from the cold, and her nose was running. Ito Fumio, who was rushing up, felt Fujiwara no Chiko in his arms shivering. He immediately slowed down and stimulated the true chi in his body. An invisible true chi was slowly released from his hand, and directly flowed through his palm into Fujiwara no Chiko's body. The shivering Fujiwara no Chiko suddenly felt a warm current flowing from Ito Fumio's palm into her body, and the cold in her body immediately disappeared. Although the young Fujiwara no Chiko did not understand what was going on, she knew that her master was helping her to expel the cold. The sensible Fujiwara no Chiko immediately took off the scarf around her neck and put it on Ito Fumio. Ito Fumio frowned and did not say anything. Just as the master and disciple were slowly drifting, they suddenly heard the sound of something breaking through the air, and 3 cold lights shot towards them from the top of the mountain. Master Kongwon was right. As soon as they left the palace, someone came to eliminate them. Ito Fumio thought to himself as he abruptly leaped into the air, dodging the 3 cold lights. He slowly landed on a huge rock, and coldly stared at the top of the mountain. Boom! The 3 cold lights hit the rock on the ground, and in an instant, the rock shattered and snow fluttered in the air. Fujiwara no Chiko was frightened by the scene in front of her, and immediately hugged Ito Fumio's neck tightly, not daring to breathe. Chapter 49. "Ito, hand over the child in your hands to us," said the ninja in the middle. He was different from the other two ninjas. His belt buckle was golden while the other two ninjas' belt buckles were white. "It's just a child, yet you're using Iga Ryu Jonin," Ito Fumio said coldly. "Isn't this a bit too much?" Hee. The ninja held back his laughter and said, "Naturally, we have to be careful when dealing with an expert like you. This time, I took the initiative to volunteer because I want to see how powerful the legendary Thousand Executioner is." "That's all in the past," Ito Fumio said. "What grudge does this child have with you that you want to kill him? This has nothing to do with me. I only know how to carry out the mission," the ninja said. "Cut the crap. Are you going to hand it over or not?" "What if I do?" Ito Fumio raised his eyebrows and asked, "What if I don't?" "If you hand over the child obediently, you can leave your sword behind and you can go," the ninja in white continued. "If you don't..." Hee. "If you don't, what do you think?" Ito Fumio asked. "I'll kill you," the ninja in white said coldly. "Haha," Ito Fumio laughed. "I advise you to give up on this idea. Not to mention the three of you, even if your sect master came, I wouldn't put him in my eyes." "Then I'll offend you," the ninja in white said as he pulled out his long sword. The sword was shining and cold. "Shue Wu," the ninja in white said and instantly slashed his long sword down. A sword shadow quickly slid across the snow and slashed toward Ito Fumio. The snow on the ground was split open by the sword energy and rolled up to both sides like waves. "You're asking for death." Ito Fumio held Fujiwara no Chiko in his left hand and raised his right arm high. He changed his palm into a sword and slashed down. A sharp white arc of light shot out from his palm, heading straight for the oncoming blade shadow. With a schwa sound, the white arc of light split the white ninja's blade in half, and passed through his body in an instant. Sizzle! A thin line of blood appeared on the head of the stunned ninja, and the blood spread from his forehead to his neck. Puff! A cloud of blood mist rose from the ninja's head. Rip! The body of the white-clothed ninja split into two halves from the middle and fell to the ground. The face that had been split in half still had an expression of disbelief. "Ah!" Fujiwara no Chiko screamed and turned her head around. She leaned her head on Ito Fumio's shoulder. How could a young girl like her withstand such stimulation? The scene in front of them made the remaining two ninjas break out in cold sweat. They didn't even dare to breathe. "I'm in a good mood today, so I'll let the two of you live to tell your sect master," Ito Fumio slowly said. "I've already accepted Fujiwara no Chiko as my disciple, so if you make things difficult for her, you're making things difficult for me. If you dare to harass me again, I'll have your sect annihilated in one night." Ito Fumio coldly shouted, "Get lost!" The two ninjas looked at each other. Then, each of them carried half of the corpse of the white-clothed ninja and turned around to leave. Ito Fumio patted Fujiwara no Chiko, who was leaning on his shoulder with her eyes closed and covering her ears. "They're gone." Fujiwara no Chiko opened her eyes and slowly turned her head. When she saw the big pool of blood on the snow, she leaned on Ito Fumio's shoulder again. "You're such a coward, yet you still want to take revenge," Ito Fumio said as he performed his movement skill again and rushed towards the peak of Mount Fuji. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Ito Fumio stopped and patted Fujiwara no Chiko, who was still leaning on his shoulder silently. "We're here," he said as he put Fujiwara no Chiko down. Fujiwara no Chiko turned around and saw an exquisite two-story wooden building in front of her. The wooden building was antique, and it was surrounded by a courtyard made of stones. There was a pool in the courtyard. Next to the pool was a huge pine tree. Under the pine tree there was a wooden table and a few chairs. The whole courtyard was arranged in a picturesque disorder, showing the owner's elegant taste. "Let's go in," Ito Fumio said as he walked in front. Fujiwara no Chiko carefully followed behind her master, not daring to breathe. The scene just now had a great impact on her young heart. She did not expect that her master Ito Fumio would be so cruel and merciless. After pushing the door open and entering the house, Fujiwara no Chiko saw the residence of her cruel and merciless master. There was a huge bookshelf, a smooth wooden floor, comfortable tatami mats, a half-finished game of Go, and a boiling hot tea stove. Everything showed that her master Ito Fumio was a person with good taste, a clean freak, and a very knowledgeable person. The reason why she said that he was a clean freak was because she found that the whole house was very clean, spotless, even the outside of the tea stove did not have a trace of ashes. Saying that he was knowledgeable, the reason was even more obvious. The huge bookshelf was full of books, astronomy, geography, tea ceremony, kendo, all kinds of books made Fujiwara no Chiko, who loved to read since childhood, dizzy. She even began to think that the owner of the wooden building was not the same person as her master who killed without blinking an eye. "You will live upstairs from now on," Ito Fumio said as he put the katana aside, leaning his body on a recliner. "Today you rest first, from tomorrow onwards you will get up early every day." "Yes, master." Fujiwara no Chiko answered and said, "What do I need to get up early for?" "You will know tomorrow." Ito Fumio said, "There is a natural volcanic hot spring behind the wooden building, you can take a bath there. There is a kitchen and ingredients upstairs, if you are hungry you can cook something for yourself." Fujiwara no Chiko answered and turned to go to the second floor. The entire second floor was very simple, with a wide closet, polished floor, clean and tidy kitchen, thick meditation cushions, and exquisite quaint square table. The most eye-catching thing was the two wide saber holders, on each of which were placed 5 sabers of different length. Fujiwara no Chiko was influenced by her father since childhood, to the point of obsession with sabers. She immediately put down her bag, walked a few steps to the saber holders, and carefully looked at the sabers. These 10 sabers were of different lengths, and their styles and patterns were completely different. Some sabers were rough and domineering, while some sabers were exquisite and gorgeous. Fujiwara no Chiko was completely attracted by these sabers, and even wanted to personally pull out the sabers to play with them. "Do you like it?" Ito Fumio's voice came from outside the door. Fujiwara no Chiko, who was looking at the sabers, heard her master's voice, and immediately turned around with a look of surprise. She did not know when her master had been standing at the door. "I like it," Fujiwara no Chiko answered in a low voice. Ito Fumio walked into the room. "Which one do you like?" At this time, Ito Fumio had changed into a loose Japanese-style green robe, and his exposed chest made him look very strong. But even so, his face was still covered by a veil. "I like all of them," Fujiwara no Chiko said honestly. "You can pick your favorite." Ito Fumio walked to the saber holders, and gently stroked the sabers. "I will give you the one you pick, as a gift for our first meeting." "Really?" Fujiwara no Chiko asked in surprise. "Of course, as your master, how can I lie to you?" But, Ito Fumio said, "when you choose, you can only look at them, but not touch them." "Okay." Fujiwara no Chiko answered happily. She had watched her father forge swords countless times since she was a child, so she was influenced by him. She was already familiar with her father's method of forging swords, and she had also learned to appreciate swords. Every time someone brought a treasured saber for her father to appreciate, her father would first let Fujiwara no Chiko appraise it. In the beginning, Fujiwara no Chiko only paid attention to the appearance of the accessories and the shape of the saber. Later, under her father's detailed explanation, she understood that a good saber could not only be judged by its appearance, but also by her heart. Under her father's influence, Fujiwara no Chiko gradually understood several key points in appreciating a weapon. The first point was to look at the spirit. Her father told her that weapons were actually the same as people. People were divided into good and evil, and weapons were the same. A good weapon would naturally exude a unique aura. She clearly remembered that once, an aristocrat came to visit her father with a long saber, and asked him to appreciate the saber. Fujiwara Kaga took it in his hand and looked at it. He did not even pull the saber out of the scabbard, and told the aristocrat that the evil aura of the saber was too strong, and there should be no less than 100 people who had died under this saber. It was best not to keep this saber by your side, or else it would affect the mind of the wielder. The aristocrat was shocked after hearing it, and he bowed repeatedly, and asked if there was a way to resolve it. Fujiwara Kaga told him that the saber was already bloodthirsty, and there was no blade. It was best to keep it permanently. If it was worn on the body for a long time, it would be disadvantageous to the owner, and bring about a bloody disaster. The aristocrat hesitated for a long time, and then got up and left. After the aristocrat left, Fujiwara no Chiko asked her father why man-made weapons were divided into good and evil. Fujiwara Kaga told her that weapons were also made by people. When they were made, they were integrated with the spirit, chi, and spirit of the person who made them. Naturally, they also had spirituality. The evil and good of weapons were the same as people, divided into innate and acquired. Innate depended on the character of the person who made the weapon. If a person was righteous, the saber would be righteous. If a person was evil, the saber would be evil. The second was acquired. If a weapon fell into the hands of an evil person, it would be eroded by evil aura for a long time. In addition, it was stained with human blood for a long time. After a long time, it would naturally become an evil saber, a demon saber, and a bloodthirsty demon that killed without batting an eyelid. However, there were exceptions to everything. Some righteous weapons would not fall into evil hands even if they fell into the hands of evil people. Instead, they would affect people and dispel the evil aura of the evil person. If this person had the heart to repent, he would naturally walk on the right path. There were righteous weapons, and naturally there were evil weapons that were full of evil aura. This kind of weapon would gradually devour the mind of the owner, causing him to lose his reason and walk on the path of evil. However, these two kinds of weapons were one in a million, and could only be found by chance. All in all, people were the most important. As long as they were righteous, they would naturally be invulnerable to evil. In addition, don't be overconfident in your determination and think that you can touch those evil weapons with righteousness. You must know that good and evil are only a matter of thought. You must not do something that you will regret for the rest of your life. After Fujiwara Kaga finished speaking, he told Fujiwara no Chiko that when the person entered the house, he felt very uncomfortable. When he took the long saber, his heart was overturned and his blood rushed up. The saber in the scabbard was like this. Naturally, it was an evil saber. Sure enough, less than 3 days after the noble returned home, the bad news that he committed suicide in the middle of the night came. Fujiwara Kaga and his daughter sighed when they heard it. In addition to the spirit, one had to look at the shape of the weapon, including the material, shape, sharpness, and so on. Fujiwara no Chiko opened her eyes wide and carefully looked at the 10 sabers in front of her, feeling the quality of each saber with her heart. Ito Fumio remained silent and watched Fujiwara no Chiko choose the sabers without batting an eyelid. When Fujiwara no Chiko saw the last saber, her eyes lit up. This saber was 3.5 feet long, and the scabbard and hilt were white. It looked pure and quiet. What surprised Fujiwara no Chiko was that this saber emitted the aura of an unruly expert. She even felt that this saber was coldly looking at her. Fujiwara no Chiko turned around and looked at Ito Fumio, who was standing behind her silently, and then turned back to look at the saber. "What have you chosen?" Ito Fumio asked. "Yes," Fujiwara no Chiko answered while pointing at the white saber. "I want this one." "Are you sure?" Ito Fumio's voice was filled with surprise. "Yes," Fujiwara no Chiko answered. "I want this one." "All right," Ito Fumio said. "I'll give this Chiho to you. Bring this saber to the courtyard tomorrow morning and wait for me." "Yes, master," Fujiwara no Chiko said excitedly, "Thank you, master." "Yes," Ito Fumio responded and turned to go downstairs. Fujiwara no Chiko waited for Ito Fumio to go downstairs and immediately jumped in front of the white saber. She reached out her hand to grab it, but who would have thought that the white saber would not move at all? Although she was young, she had played with many sabers since she was young. In addition, she had worked in the palace for 2 years, so her strength was not small. A long saber was at most 5 kilograms, and this weight was nothing to Fujiwara no Chiko. However, this saber did not move at all. Fujiwara no Chiko could not move it at all. She tried again, but the Chiho still did not move at all. Fujiwara no Chiko was annoyed. She held the saber tightly with both hands and used a lot of strength to lift the Chiho off the saber rack. What a heavy saber! Fujiwara no Chiko looked at the saber that was almost as tall as her and frowned as she muttered to herself. Such a heavy saber, it was estimated to be at least 15 kilograms. She could not lift it with one arm, so she could only barely lift it with both hands. Chiko Fujiwara understood why her master, Ito Fumio, had repeatedly asked her if she was sure. This was probably the reason. "It will be suitable for me when I grow up," Fujiwara no Chiko thought to herself. She used both hands to slowly pull the Chiho out of the scabbard. When the saber was only an inch out of the scabbard, a dazzling white light was emitted from the saber along with the roar of a tiger and the roar of a dragon, illuminating the entire room. Fujiwara no Chiko was overjoyed when she saw this. She was not wrong. This Chiho was a true divine weapon. When the saber was completely pulled out of the scabbard, Fujiwara no Chiko saw the true appearance of the Chiho that was covered in white light. The saber was straight and white like snow. There were no patterns on it, and the light shone from it. "It is really a good saber." Fujiwara no Chiko liked it more and more. She finally had a saber that belonged to her. Chapter 50. That night, Fujiwara no Chiko held the Chiho in her arms and tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. Now, not only was she free, but she also met a master with profound cultivation. Although he was cruel and merciless, he was also a good person. She secretly made up her mind to follow her master and cultivate well. In the future, she must use the Chiho in her hand to hack the guy named Matsumoto Takeyoshi, just like how her master hacked the ninja in white. She thought in a daze as she gradually fell asleep. The next day, at dawn, Fujiwara no Chiko got up early. After everything was ready, she carried her beloved Chiho downstairs and went to the courtyard. As soon as she arrived at the courtyard, she found that her master, Ito Fumio, had already been waiting there. "Master," Fujiwara no Chiko whispered. She thought she got up early, but she didn't expect her master to get up earlier than her. "Yes." Ito Fumio nodded. "Master, what are you going to teach me today?" Fujiwara no Chiko asked excitedly. "Today, I have something for you to do," Ito Fumio said to Fujiwara Chiko. "When this matter is done, I will teach you martial arts." Ito Fumio looked at the puzzled Fujiwara Chiko and continued, "There are some caves on Mount Fuji. From today onwards, you will carry Chijing to the caves on this mountain every morning and bring me a fist-sized stone. Remember, you can only take 1 stone from each cave. I will only give you 2 hours each time. Take as many as you can in these 2 hours. When you have taken all the caves on Mount Fuji, I will teach you martial arts. Do you understand?" Fujiwara Chiko's heart sank when she heard what her master said. There were thousands of caves on Mount Fuji, big and small. Due to the volcano, new caves would appear from time to time. It was as difficult as ascending to the sky to count them, let alone going into a cave to take a stone. Fujiwara no Chiko's enthusiasm was instantly extinguished. "Why can't you do it?" Ito Fumio asked. "I can do it," Fujiwara no Chiko said word by word. In order to learn real skills, she had to persevere no matter how hard and tiring it was. "Yes." Ito Fumio waved his hand. "Go." Come back in 2 hours. If you exceed this time, everything that you did that day will be repeated. In addition, Ito Fumio deliberately raised his voice. Don't lie to me. If I find out that you cheated, I will expel you from the sect. Do you understand? Yes, master. After Fujiwara no Chiko finished speaking, she carried Chiho on her back and walked up the mountain. As she walked, she pondered how to save her energy and not miss any of the caves. She, who was talented and intelligent, did not take long to come up with a preliminary plan. First, she had to go up the mountain, and she had to go to the caves that were not far from her residence. The reason why she did this was because she was empty-handed and full of energy when she went up the mountain. Because she had to bring a stone with her when she came back, it was easier to go down the mountain. When she grew older and her energy got better, she would go to the caves that were farther away from her residence. She picked up a small red stone on the road and used it to mark the cave. This way, it would be clear at a glance which cave had been in and which had not. After making up her mind, Fujiwara no Chiko began to speed up. She had been busy in the palace for 2 years, so her speed was not bad. In less than an hour, she found a group of caves. She did not dare to go too deep into the cave. After taking a few steps, she bent down to pick up a fist-sized stone and turned around to run. After all, she was just a child of 10 years old. Facing the dark cave, she felt that a monster would suddenly run out. Fujiwara no Chiko picked up 5 or 6 stones and left a mark outside the cave. After that, she immediately returned. It was not that she was lazy, but she had to calculate the time it would take to go back and forth. She also had to take into account the resting time. 5 or 6 stones weighed more than 10 pounds. Adding the Chiho on her back, it weighed more than 40 pounds. This weight was already the limit for a 10-year-old child. Not only that, she also had to carefully hurry along the rugged path. The snow on the mountain made the path very slippery. If she was not careful, she would roll down the mountain. If that happened, not only would she lose the stones that she picked up with great difficulty, she might even lose her life in this uninhabited mountain. Although the cold air was bone-piercing, the young Fujiwara no Chiko was already sweating. She walked and stopped, and finally returned to her residence within 2 hours. She handed the 5 or 6 stones to her master, Ito Fumio. From that day onwards, Fujiwara no Chiko woke up early every day before the sun rose. Then, she would go up the mountain as fast as she could to find as many stones as possible. She would also return within 2 hours. Every time she rushed back, she would find her master waiting for her in the courtyard. Beside him was an hourglass that he used to keep track of time. After returning, she would put down the stones and start to cook for her master, wash his clothes, and clean the wooden house. For the rest of the time, other than exercising her body, she would quietly sit on the floor and read the books on her master, Ito Fumio's bookshelf. These books were as vast as the sea, and most of them were written in Chinese. She could not understand them at all. When Ito Fumio saw that she was reading so eagerly, he took time out every night to teach her Chinese. He found that this child was not only willing to endure hardships, but also loved to read. She was also very intelligent. She could infer many things from one example. Gradually, he began to like this child and imparted everything he knew to her. Fujiwara no Chiko also found that this cruel and merciless master also had a gentle and quiet side. He would even occasionally joke with her. Every night, she would feel someone covering her with a blanket. There were only the 2 of them in the wooden house, and that person was naturally her master, Ito Fumio. Ever since her father's accident, this was the first time she felt that someone loved her like a father. But even so, she had never seen her master's true face. Every day, he would wear a veil and leave early in the morning and return late at night. He was still very strict with her. Once, she was greedy and took a dozen stones with her. Because she was carrying too much weight, she fell down halfway and could only limp back to her residence. When she returned to the courtyard, The hourglass had just finished emptying. Ito Fumio took the stones and threw them out of the courtyard without saying anything. He told her to pick them up again the next day. Just like that, 3 years passed. Fujiwara no Chiko was diligent, rain or shine. Even if there was lightning and thunder outside, she would still go to the mountain to pick up stones as usual. She did not remember how many times she fell down, nor how many times she was bitten by the poisonous insects in the cave. She only remembered that she had to complete the task given to her by her master as soon as possible. She wanted to learn as soon as possible and avenge her father. Once, she had a high fever, but still struggled to get up. She carried a chiho on her back and wanted to go up the mountain. However, she was discovered by Ito Fumio. If he did not order Fujiwara no Chiko to rest, she would still continue to go up the mountain to pick stones. This little girl's character was tenacious. In the past 3 years, Chiko Fujiwara had transformed from a child into a slender and elegant young lady. In the past 3 years, not only had she filled the backyard with stones, but she had also become proficient in conversing with her master in Chinese. She could also read books written in Chinese that were difficult to understand. Today, Fujiwara no Chiko's leg strength was amazing, and her strength was incomparable. From her residence to the top of Mount Fuji in less than half an hour, she could still walk as if she was flying while carrying hundreds of pounds of stones on her back. All of this made Ito Fumio very satisfied. On this day, after Fujiwara no Chiko came back from Mount Fuji in the morning, she excitedly went to Ito Fumio, who was leisurely drinking tea in the courtyard. She poured a large bag of stones on the ground. Master, Fujiwara no Chiko sat on the chair opposite to Ito Fumio, picked up the teapot and poured a cup of tea for herself. I have visited all the caves on the mountain, and I have completed the task you gave me. After that, she drank the tea in her hand. Now, she was not so restrained in front of her master. Okay. Ito Fumio put the teacup in his hand to his mouth under the veil and took a sip, then said quietly, "Starting tomorrow, I will teach you the swordsmanship. You don't want to check it out?" Fujiwara no Chiko was a little surprised. "Aren't you afraid that I will lie to you?" "You didn't lie to me," Ito Fumio said lightly. "How do you know?" Fujiwara no Chiko picked up the cup again and drank tea. She enjoyed the tea made by her master the most. "I follow you up and down the mountain every day, and I know you didn't lie to me," Ito Fumio said, as if nothing had happened. Puff! Fujiwara no Chiko directly spat out the tea in her mouth. Cough! Fujiwara no Chiko coughed and said, "You followed me everywhere." "You follow me every day?" Ito Fumio's words made Chiko Fujiwara unable to believe her ears. "Silly girl, why don't you use your brain?" Ito Fumio said with a smile. "When I took you up the mountain, there were jonins chasing after you. How could I let you go up the mountain alone?" Ito Fumio picked up the teacup and took another sip of tea. "Not to mention, you have a chiho on your back and a spirit jade blood phoenix. These 2 treasures are enough to make those people drool. If I didn't follow you, you would have died 1,000 times." Fujiwara Chiko was silent. She thought about how her master, Ito Fumio, followed her every morning to ensure her safety. Moreover, he had followed her for 3 years. She looked at her master who was leisurely drinking tea in front of her, and did not know what to say to express her gratitude. "Master!" Fujiwara no Chiko's eyes were red. "Okay," Ito Fumio put down the teacup. "Today's weather is good. You have been living on Mount Fuji for the past 3 years, so you must be bored. Today, Master will take you to walk around the streets and buy you some clothes. At the same time, we will also visit your savior, Master Kongwon." "Really?" Fujiwara no Chiko immediately cheered. Although the scenery of Mount Fuji was beautiful after 3 years of looking at it, no matter how beautiful the scenery was, she was already tired of it. Now, her master, who had always been arrogant and strict, actually wanted to take her out to walk around and buy her clothes. She had been wearing clothes made by Ito Fumio for the past 3 years. Since her father's accident, she had not worn any decent clothes. What made her even happier was that she would soon be able to meet her father's close friend and her savior, Master Kongwon. "When are we leaving?" Fujiwara no Chiko asked excitedly. "Pack up, we are leaving now," Ito Fumio said with a smile. Chapter 51. After tidying up, Fujiwara no Chiko rushed downstairs. "Master, let's go." She couldn't wait. "Wait a minute." Ito Fumio took out a veil and handed it to Fujiwara no Chiko. "Put it on." Fujiwara no Chiko took the veil and looked at her master suspiciously. "There are too many people, wearing a veil can avoid a lot of trouble," Ito Fumio said. Fujiwara no Chiko put on the veil and understood what her master meant. She noticed that her master didn't bring a sword this time, but he wore a bamboo hat on his head. "Put this on as well," Ito Fumio said as he took out a bamboo hat and handed it to Fujiwara no Chiko. Fujiwara no Chiko took it and put it on her head. "Okay, let's go." Ito Fumio took Fujiwara no Chiko out of the courtyard. After leaving the hospital, Ito Fumio stopped in his tracks and turned around to face the courtyard. He made a mysterious hand seal with one hand. With a bang, the courtyard was instantly surrounded by white fog, enveloping the entire courtyard. "Master," Fujiwara no Chiko asked in surprise, "this is the mist concealment technique. I will teach you in the future." Ito Fumio said, "The swords in the wooden building are all magical weapons. Your Chiho and my Kuroheim are even more powerful. If they fall into the enemy's hands, it will be troublesome." At this time, the white fog began to dissipate, but the scene after it dissipated surprised Fujiwara no Chiko. The wooden building in front of her disappeared. It was replaced by a pine forest. Fujiwara no Chiko rubbed her eyes and looked again, but she still couldn't see any flaws. It seemed that her master was not only proficient in swordsmanship, but also in Chiman Dun Jia. "Let's go," Ito Fumio said and took Fujiwara no Chiko down the mountain. After 3 years of training, Fujiwara no Chiko's leg strength had reached an astonishing level. She could run as fast as flying. However, Ito Fumio did not use his movement technique. Instead, he maintained the same speed as Fujiwara no Chiko and took Fujiwara no Chiko down Mount Fuji. Along the way, Fujiwara no Chiko was chattering nonstop. Ito Fumio was also in a good mood. The master and disciple were talking and laughing like father and daughter. Fujiwara no Chiko felt that her master was no different from her father. 2 hours later, the master and disciple arrived at the foot of the mountain. At this time, the foot of Mount Fuji was already bustling with noise and excitement. It was April, the day when cherry blossoms were in full bloom. People would bring their families to have picnics under the cherry blossom trees and have fun. Fujiwara no Chiko was in a good mood and strolled around with Ito Fumio. Ito Fumio first took her to a clothing store to pick out some clothes for her. Then, he took her to a famous sushi restaurant to eat sushi. After eating the sushi, he went to the gift shop to pick out a gift for Master Kongwon. Fujiwara no Chiko picked out a good set of go and followed Ito Fumio to Master Kongwon's residence, Kayamizu Temple. Kayamizu Temple, Japan's oldest temple in Kyoto. Its name is Inu Mountain, and it mainly enshrines the thousand-armed and thousand-eyed Guan-in Bodhisattva. It is said that it was founded by Tang Xuanzang's first disciple in Japan, Master Xin. Kayamizu Temple got its name from the clear water in the temple. There is a waterfall in the temple, named Inu Waterfall. The clear spring water is divided into 3 parts, representing longevity, health, and wisdom. This clear spring water is regarded as having magical powers by the people. Many people would come and drink the water to prevent diseases and dispel disasters. After the master and disciple arrived at the temple to offer incense, they went to visit Master Kongwon. After reporting their names, the attendant brought them to the backyard of Kayamizu Temple, Master Kongwon's residence. "Ha ha ha, This morning I saw the magpies chirping nonstop on my roof. I knew there would be a happy occasion," Master Kong-won said as he quickly walked out of his room. Master Kong-won. Fujiwara no Chiko removed her veil and bamboo hat, dashing in front of Master Kong-won. Master Kong-won smiled as he mercifully stroked Fujiwara no Chiko's head. "Chiko, I haven't seen you in 3 years and you've already grown so big." Ito Fumio also walked in front of Master Kong-won. The two nodded their heads in greeting. "This isn't the place to talk, follow me." Master Kong-won brought the master and disciple into the room, instructing the attendant not to disturb them before closing the door. "Master, this is the go set for you." After the 3 people sat down, Fujiwara no Chiko handed the go set to Master Kong-won. Master Kong-won took the go set and said with a smile, "Chiko has really grown up. You still remember this old man likes to play Go." However, Master Kong-won let out a long sigh. "Ever since your father was born, I no longer play Go with others." At the mention of her father Fujiwara Kaga, Fujiwara no Chiko's heart once again hurt. "Forget it, let's not talk about those sad things." Master Kong-won said to Fujiwara no Chiko, "What have you learned from Master Ito Fumio in these 3 years?" Fujiwara no Chiko told Master Kong-won everything she had learned in these 3 years. After listening, Master Kong-won couldn't help but nod. "Good child, you've done very well. This time when you go down the mountain, you master and disciple should stay in the temple for a few more days. While you're at it, you can walk around the temple. I'll have someone arrange accommodation for you in a while." "No need," Ito Fumio said. "Master Ito Fumio is busy, we won't disturb you anymore." "Chiko," Ito Fumio said to Fujiwara no Chiko, "you go out first, I have something to say to Master Ito Fumio. Without my permission and Master Ito Fumio's permission, no one can come in." "Yes, Master." Looking at her master's serious face, Fujiwara no Chiko agreed and walked out of the door. She sat on the steps by the door. Although she and her master were like father and daughter, her master was still her master. She didn't dare to disobey Ito Fumio's words. Half an hour later, the door opened. Master Ito Fumio and Master Kong-won came out. Fujiwara no Chiko noticed that Master Kong-won was frowning, and Ito Fumio was expressionless. "Chiko, let's go," Ito Fumio said. "Are we leaving? Leaving just like that?" Fujiwara Chiko did not know what had happened in the room. "Yes." Ito Fumio walked down the step. Fujiwara no Chiko looked at Master Kong-won, lowered her head and muttered, "Master Kong-won, I'm leaving." She turned around and prepared to leave. "Wait a moment," Master Kong-won said. Fujiwara no Chiko turned around. Ito Fumio also stopped, but he didn't look back. Master Kong-won walked in front of Fujiwara no Chiko, took out a book wrapped in yellow cloth and handed it to Fujiwara no Chiko. "This scripture is for you. Remember to read it when you have nothing to do." Master Kong-won waved his hand. "Go." He turned around and went back into the room. "Let's go," Ito Fumio said coldly and walked towards the door. Fujiwara no Chiko followed behind, her head full of questions. What happened to Master and Master Kong-won? They were fine just now. Why now, Master, where are we going? Fujiwara no Chiko asked Ito Fumio. "Back," Ito Fumio replied. "Oh." Fujiwara no Chiko replied reluctantly. She had been cooped up in Mount Fuji for 3 years. Now that she finally came out to play, she had to go back in less than half a day. "If you don't want to go back, you can stay here." Ito Fumio stopped and turned around to face Fujiwara no Chiko. "However, you must go back before dawn tomorrow. Do you understand?" Fujiwara no Chiko said happily. "Thank you, Master," Ito Fumio said and turned around to leave. "Qianzi, are you happy now?" Master Kong-won had appeared behind her at some point in time. "Master Kong-won, what happened between you and my master?" Fujiwara no Chiko asked. "You don't understand adult matters. You are still young. When you grow up in the future, you will understand. Master Kong said. Today, you only need to play in the temple. You don't need to think about anything else. You are still safe in this temple. Tomorrow, I will personally send you back. How about it? Fujiwara no Chiko happily agreed. On this day, Master Kong postponed all temple affairs and took Fujiwara no Chiko to visit Kayamizu Temple. Under Master Kong's explanation, she understood the process of Shakyamuni Buddha becoming a Buddha. She also understood the compassion of Guanyin Bodhisattva. She also understood the principle of impermanence. She also understood the reason of good karma. After dinner, Master Kong took Fujiwara no Chiko to walk on a small path in the temple. The night was as cool as water. The bright moon was high in the sky. In this quiet environment of Kayamizu Temple, Fujiwara no Chiko felt incomparably relaxed. Chiko, Master Kong said to Fujiwara no Chiko, everything in the world is impermanent. Everything happens for a reason. You must know that there is always a cause and an effect. Now that you have grown up, you must think carefully about what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Do you understand? Fujiwara no Chiko agreed. It's already late. You should go and rest. I will send you back tomorrow morning. After Master Kong finished speaking, he sent Fujiwara no Chiko to the guest room. He also arranged for someone to secretly protect Fujiwara no Chiko in order to prevent a sneak attack in the middle of the night. That night, Fujiwara no Chiko tossed and turned in bed. She understood Master Kong's words very well. The meaning was very obvious. He wanted her to give up the idea of avenging her father. However, her father, Fujiwara Kaga, was framed and killed. As the saying goes, the hatred of one's father is irreconcilable. She could not let go of her father's murderer, Matsumoto Takeyoshi. Then again, even if she could do it, those people who wanted to kill her would still follow her like a ghost, looking for an opportunity to kill her. Master Kong, I am sorry. She put the yellow cloth-wrapped Lotus Sutra under her pillow. Chapter 52. The next day, before dawn, Master Kong and Fujiwara no Chiko were already walking on the mountain road of Mount Fuji. What surprised Fujiwara no Chiko was that although Master Kong was almost 60 years old, his steps were still vigorous, as if he was flying. Although Fujiwara no Chiko's leg strength was amazing, she could barely keep up with Master Kong's speed. In less than half an hour, the two of them arrived in front of Ito Fumio's wooden house. As usual, Ito Fumio was sitting on a chair in the courtyard, drinking tea alone. Chiko, you can go in. Standing at the door, Master Kong said to Fujiwara no Chiko. Master Kong, don't you want to go in and sit? Fujiwara no Chiko asked. I am busy in the temple, so I won't go in. Master Kong said to Fujiwara no Chiko, send my regards to your master. If there is a chance, I will come back to see you. After Master Kong finished speaking, he turned around and left. Master Kong used his movement skill. His feet didn't touch the ground, and he quickly floated down the mountain. Fujiwara no Chiko was secretly surprised. Master Kong's movement skill was exactly the same as her master Ito Fumio's movement skill. She clearly remembered that 3 years ago when her master took her up the mountain, he also used the same movement skill. His feet didn't touch the ground and he floated. What is the relationship between Master Kong and her master? Fujiwara no Chiko thought as she arrived in front of Ito Fumio. Master, I am back. Fujiwara no Chiko said. Ito Fumio put down his teacup. From today onwards, I will begin to teach you the sword technique. Come with me. Ito Fumio got up and walked into the wooden house. Fujiwara no Chiko happily followed behind. She could finally learn the sword technique. Ito Fumio walked into his bedroom and took out a black katana that looked extremely ordinary to Fujiwara no Chiko. Take it, Ito Fumio said as he handed the saber to Fujiwara no Chiko with one hand. Fujiwara no Chiko took the saber, and she suddenly felt a weight in her hand. The black saber almost fell out of her hand. This saber was extremely heavy, at least 70 to 80 pounds. If she hadn't trained hard for 3 years and had amazing strength, she wouldn't have been able to lift it at all. This saber. Fujiwara no Chiko thought that the chiho that her master gave her was heavy enough. She didn't expect this chiho to be several times heavier than that. This sword is called Typhoon. I used this sword when I was learning, Ito Fumio said. Now I will pass it to you. During your learning period, you can use this sword to practice your swordsmanship. Yes, master, Fujiwara no Chiko replied. Follow me up the mountain, Ito Fumio said as he turned and walked out of the wooden building. Fujiwara no Chiko followed closely behind. Ito Fumio brought Fujiwara no Chiko to a cave not far from the wooden building. Let's go in, Ito Fumio said as he walked in front. Fujiwara no Chiko also followed into the cave with a face full of suspicion. She didn't know why her master brought her here. This cave was very deep. She remembered very clearly that the first stone that she picked up came from this cave. However, she only went into the cave and didn't go deep into the cave. As the cave got deeper and deeper, the light in the cave got dimmer and dimmer. In the end, she couldn't even see her own fingers. We're here. As Ito Fumio spoke, he took out a match from his pocket and lit up a torch on the wall of the cave. Under the light of the torch, Fujiwara no Chiko could see the appearance of this place. This was a very spacious cave, about 10 feet high and 20 feet wide. This was the end of the cave. The cave was empty, and the torch that was stuck in the stone wall was the only thing here. Master, why did you bring me here? Fujiwara no Chiko asked in confusion. To practice swordsmanship, Ito Fumio blew out the lighter and said, Look at the wall. Stone wall? Fujiwara no Chiko walked to the wall with the torch. When she looked at the wall, she was shocked. She saw that on the wall there were many deep sword marks. Not only this wall, but all 3 walls and even the roof of the cave were full of sword marks. This is the place where I used to practice my swordsmanship. Ito Fumio slowly said, It took me a year to complete my training here. Ito Fumio said as he took out a stick of incense and walked to the torch. He lit the incense and inserted it into the gap of the wall. Give me the iron blade, Ito Fumio said. Fujiwara no Chiko handed the black sword to Ito Fumio. After Ito Fumio took the sword, he slowly pulled it out. The sound of a tiger roaring and a dragon roaring could be heard. A long black sword was slowly unsheathed. The body of the sword was as black as ink. What was surprising was that the sword did not have an edge, and it was very thick. Just the edge of the sword was as thick as a finger. Put out the torch, Ito Fumio said. Fujiwara no Chiko did as she was told. After the torch was put out, the cave was pitch black, and only the burning incense revealed a red light. Look at that incense, Ito Fumio said as he raised the iron blade up high and then chopped it down. Pa! A faint but clear sound was heard, and the red light on the incense immediately turned into 2. Fujiwara no Chiko was shocked by the scene in front of her. The thin incense stick was actually split in half from the middle, becoming 2 sticks of incense. How was this possible? Fujiwara no Chiko did not understand. How could such a thin incense be split into 2 by a sword without an edge? Ito Fumio once again lit up the torch, and the cave was once again brightened up. This is sword chi. Ito Fumio sheathed the iron blade and handed it to Fujiwara no Chiko. From today onwards, you will start learning this technique. Ito Fumio handed a yellow thread-bound book to Fujiwara no Chiko. This is the chi circulation technique. Practice it diligently. If there is anything you don't understand, just ask me. When you are able to split the incense, I will continue to teach you the sword technique, understand? Understood, master. Fujiwara no Chiko nodded. Good. Ito Fumio said, "Every morning, go to the entrance of the cave to practice the chi circulation technique. In the afternoon, go to the cave to practice the sword technique, and in the evening, go back to the wooden house to rest." After saying that, he turned around and walked out of the cave. From then on, Fujiwara no Chiko strictly followed her master Ito Fumio's method and began to practice arduously. She diligently practiced, day and night, studying the chi circulation technique, and it took her a full year to barely form sword chi. It took her another year to learn how to accurately control the sword chi, and it was only until the third year that she was able to split the incense in half. In these 3 years, she not only learned the chi circulation technique, but also learned her master Ito Fumio's strange movement technique under his careful guidance. Ito Fumio told her that the chi circulation technique came from China. It was given to him by a Chinese friend. The chi circulation technique was extensive and profound. When one practiced it to the highest level, not only would one be able to fly on land, but they would also be able to fly in the air. But in order to practice to that level, one must have a very high level of perception. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, another 4 years had passed. Under Ito Fumio's careful guidance, Fujiwara no Chiko's cultivation had greatly increased, and at the age of 20, she had already learned a secret technique. Now, not only was her movement technique superb, but her sword technique was also superb. Ito Fumio had once tested Fujiwara no Chiko's cultivation. He placed a hard stone on a piece of soft tofu, and let Fujiwara no Chiko use her sword chi to cut the stone, but it was not able to hurt the tofu at all. This method tested Fujiwara no Chiko's proficiency in controlling the sword chi. Fujiwara no Chiko's sword chi flashed, and the hard stone was cut in half, and the tofu below only trembled slightly, and was not hurt by the sword chi. After seeing this, Ito Fumio nodded his head. Fujiwara no Chiko's sword chi control was not bad. On this day, Ito Fumio called Fujiwara no Chiko to his side, and told Fujiwara no Chiko that her cultivation period was over, and from now on, she could freely go out to cultivate, and could also use the chiho. Really? That's great. Fujiwara no Chiko could finally not use the cumbersome iron edge. She dreamed of using the chiho. What made her even happier was that she could go out freely in the future. But there are 2 things you have to pay attention to, Ito Fumio said. First, except for those close to you, no one can see your true face. Second, you can't take revenge on your own. Why? Fujiwara no Chiko was very puzzled after hearing this. She could accept the first point, and even if her master did not tell her, she would still do it. She had been wearing the veil for a long time, and she had already liked the mysterious feeling of not being known by outsiders. In addition, those people who wanted to kill her still had not given up, and wearing the veil outside could avoid a lot of unnecessary trouble. But she did not understand. After 10 years of cultivation, she had already learned a lot, and killing Matsumoto Takeyoshi was a piece of cake for her now. Why did her master suddenly tell her that she could not take revenge now? The time is not yet right. Ito Fumio got up and walked to the window. Matsumoto Takeyoshi is now the favorite person of Tokugawa Yasu, and there are 2 ninjutsu masters guarding him day and night. These 2 ninjas are very powerful, and with your current cultivation, you are not their opponent. Then what should I do? Fujiwara no Chiko asked anxiously. Wait. Ito Fumio said as he opened the window. As far as I know, this Matsumoto Takeyoshi is very ambitious. Not only is he always planning to usurp the throne, but he also covets the great Ming dynasty. According to reliable sources, Matsumoto Takeyoshi secretly worships the evil god Sietian as his adoptive father, and he intends to use Sietian's power to support him to become the emperor and steal the great Ming dynasty's divine weapon, so that he can smoothly attack the great Ming dynasty in the future. Not only that, he also recruited a large number of ninjas to work for him, and his secret power is very large. It is said that one of the 3 divine weapons of Japan, the Kusanagi sword, has already fallen into his hands. 3 divine weapons? Fujiwara no Chiko recalled that her father Fujiwara Kaga had told her that Japan had 3 divine weapons, which were the Kusanagi sword, the Yata mirror, and the Yasaka jade. These 3 divine weapons were said to support the destiny of Japan, and they were Japan's national treasures. These 3 divine weapons were originally the treasures of Qin Shi Huang, Ying. Back then, Su Fu was ordered by the Qin emperor to go out to sea to find the way to immortality, and he took these 3 divine weapons with him, which later became Japan's national treasures. It is said that their power is very shocking. Ito Fumio continued, in less than 3 months, it will be the Ming Dynasty Emperor's birthday, and according to the usual practice, Tokugawa Ieyasu will send an envoy to pay tribute. According to what I know, Matsumoto Takeyoshi has already taken the initiative to go to the Great Ming Dynasty, and Tokugawa Ieyasu has already agreed to this matter. What does this have to do with my revenge? Fujiwara no Chiko did not understand. Matsumoto Takeyoshi will definitely secretly investigate the whereabouts of the Ming Dynasty's national treasures. Ito Fumio said to Fujiwara no Chiko, although he has many experts by his side, most of them will be left in Japan to prevent any changes. Right now, what he lacks the most is experts who are proficient in Chinese and have profound cultivation. You are proficient in Chinese and have cultivation, so you will definitely be appreciated and put in an important position, understand? I understand. Fujiwara no Chiko suddenly understood. After gaining his trust, I will take the opportunity to kill him and take revenge for my father. Matsumoto Takeyoshi is extremely suspicious. It is not easy to gain his trust. Ito Fumio said slowly. He has experts by his side, so you must not act rashly. Ito Fumio took out a letter from his bosom and handed it to Fujiwara no Chiko. From tomorrow onwards, you will go to Matsumoto Takeyoshi's residence, and I will send this letter to Matsumoto Takeyoshi. Me? Tomorrow I will go and meet Matsumoto Takeyoshi? Fujiwara no Chiko asked after receiving the letter. With what identity? Chapter 53. What? Fujiwara no Chiko couldn't believe her ears. Use my original identity? Wouldn't that be courting death? She didn't know what her master was planning. Matsumoto Takeyoshi is not a fool, Ito Fumio got up and said. He has many eyes and ears, and his connections are very wide. If you use a fake identity, he will definitely be able to find a loophole. At that time, don't talk about revenge, you might not even be able to protect yourself. But Fujiwara no Chiko was full of doubts. Matsumoto Takeyoshi sent people everywhere to kill you, but he never thought that you would take the initiative to come to his door. This is also a risky move, taking advantage of his suspicion. The key is the letter in your hand. Ito Fumio said, open it and take a look. Fujiwara no Chiko opened the letter and saw the words written on it. Matsumoto-kun, I heard that your excellency will leave for the Great Ming Dynasty to pay tribute in a few days, and I specially sent a chess piece for you to use. This woman is Fujiwara no Chiko, the daughter of the famous knife maker Fujiwara Kaga. I have carefully trained her for many years. Her cultivation is not shallow, and she is proficient in Chinese. I don't want to hide it from you, but this woman is eager for revenge. After gaining your trust, she wants to take the opportunity to avenge her father. But you can rest assured, I have already specifically told her not to do anything without gaining your trust. As long as you use her a little, this woman will definitely complete the task to gain your trust. After you have completed your hegemony, you can dispose of this chess piece at your will. Although Ito Fumio has lived in seclusion for many years, his heart was still full of pride. As the saying goes, a fine bird chooses a tree to nest in. If you need it, Ito Fumio is willing to serve you. I only hope that after you have completed your hegemony, you can entrust the ninja army to Ito Fumio. Ito Fumio will definitely do his best to repay your kindness. Dear Ito Fumio. After Fujiwara no Chiko finished reading the letter, she was frightened by the contents of the letter. She loosened her hand, and the letter slipped from her hand. If her master didn't tell her in advance that this was a trap, she would have believed it. She didn't think that her master not only had profound cultivation, but also meticulous and resourceful. If Matsumoto Takeyoshi read the letter, there was a high chance that he would believe what was written in it. Ito Fumio stretched out his hand, and the letter that fell in the air immediately flew back to his hand. What's wrong? Are you scared? Ito Fumio laughed. More than just scared, Fujiwara Chiko said honestly. I almost believed it. Ito Fumio smiled faintly and slapped his hand. With a pa sound, paper shreds flew everywhere. Fumio 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 Fumios its right. Fumio ss. Fumio said tt. Tites tttia t Fujiwara no Chiko admired him from the bottom of her heart. This way, not only can you enter the tiger's den, but you can also go back and forth openly. Ito Fumio said, get ready. We'll set off tomorrow. Remember, Matsumoto Takeyoshi is very cunning. Be careful. Yes, master. After Fujiwara no Chiko answered, she turned around and went upstairs. Ito Fumio also began to write a letter. Everything was going according to the plan. The next morning, Fujiwara no Chiko cleaned up and went to the courtyard. She was dressed in white and her face was covered with a white veil. She carried a chiho on her back and was dressed like an otherworldly expert. His master, Ito Fumio, was sitting in the courtyard as usual, drinking tea by himself. Master, said Fujiwara no Chiko. Okay, Ito Fumio said as he turned around. Be careful on the road. Master. Master. Fujiwara no Chiko suddenly realized that the veil on her master's face was gone. The Ito Fumio in front of her had fair skin, red lips, and white teeth. Sharp edges and sharp eyes like cold stars. He was a very handsome man. What's wrong? Ito Fumio looked at the excited Fujiwara no Chiko and asked, Am I ugly? No, no. Fujiwara no Chiko quickly waved her hand and said, Master, you're very handsome. It's getting late. You should be on your way. Ito Fumio said and put on the veil again. Be careful on the road. Yes. Fujiwara no Chiko turned around and left. After taking a few steps, she turned around and went back. What's wrong? Ito Fumio looked at Fujiwara no Chiko with a puzzled face. Master. Fujiwara no Chiko knelt on the ground. I don't know if this trip will be auspicious or inauspicious. I don't know if I'll be able to see Master again. It's not that Chiko is afraid of death. It's just that Master treats me like your own daughter. I'm afraid that before I can fulfill my filial duties. Fujiwara no Chiko's tears flowed out again. Please take care of yourself. After saying that, she kowtowed a few times, got up and turned around to leave. Ito Fumio did not say anything. He frowned as he looked at Fujiwara no Chiko's figure gradually disappearing from his sight. After Fujiwara no Chiko left the wooden building, she used the land flight technique and quickly went down the mountain. At this time, her cultivation was no longer the same as before. A white shadow floated down 1 foot above the ground. In less than an incense's time, she stood at the foot of Mount Fuji. Fujiwara no Chiko turned around to look at the wooden building at the waist of the mountain. After a long time, she turned around and left. 2 hours later, Fujiwara no Chiko arrived in front of a majestic mansion. This was Matsumoto Takeyoshi's official residence, Twilight Autumn Residence. 2 samurai with swords at their waists were guarding the entrance expressionlessly. Fujiwara no Chiko took a deep breath and slowly walked to the entrance. When the 2 samurai saw Fujiwara no Chiko carrying a sword, they immediately became alert. Who are you? One of the samurai said. This is not a place for you to come. Go away. The other samurai immediately walked behind Fujiwara no Chiko and placed his hand on the hilt of his sword, preparing to attack from the front and back. Go and tell Matsumoto Takeyoshi that Fujiwara no Chiko is here. Fujiwara no Chiko said coldly. When the samurai in front heard this, he was stunned and immediately exchanged glances with the samurai standing behind Fujiwara no Chiko. Wait here, I will go and report. After the samurai finished speaking, he turned around and entered the mansion. After a while, he came out again and respectfully said to Fujiwara no Chiko, Master invites you in. As he spoke, he bowed deeply and extended his hand towards the mansion. Please follow me, Miss Chiko. After speaking, he led the way. Fujiwara no Chiko followed closely and entered the Twilight Autumn residence. As her master Ito Fumio had said, the Twilight Autumn residence was heavily guarded. There were sentries every few steps, and all of them were ninjas. These ninjas all had swords at their waists, and their faces were covered with veils. Only their bright eyes could be seen. After passing through 7 or 8 gates, Fujiwara no Chiko had just entered Matsumoto Takeyoshi's living area. There were pavilions, artificial mountains, and clear springs. It was a completely different world. Fujiwara no Chiko was not in the mood to appreciate the beautiful scenery. When she thought that she was about to meet her father's murderer, Fujiwara no Chiko's heart pounded. After passing through 3 heavily guarded checkpoints, Fujiwara no Chiko followed the samurai and arrived in front of an extremely luxurious building. In front of the building, there was an exquisite and elegant pavilion. The pavilion was surrounded by a smooth and expensive wooden floor. In the pavilion, a middle-aged man in luxurious clothes was lying on a futon. Behind the middle-aged man stood 2 people, one in green and one in white. They each held a long sword and stood beside the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was enjoying the dance. He held a wine glass in one hand and tapped his knee lightly with the other. Dozens of dancers were dancing to the music in front of him. Accompanied by the falling petals of the cherry trees, the scene was magnificent. Miss Chiko, please wait here. After the samurai finished speaking, he lowered his head and bent his waist. He walked in small steps to the middle-aged man who was enjoying the dance and whispered a few words into his ear. The middle-aged man waved his hand. All the dancers and performers immediately stopped. They bowed deeply to the middle-aged man and slowly retreated. The samurai also immediately bent his waist and retreated. He came in front of Fujiwara no Chiko. Master invites Miss Chiko over, the samurai said. Fujiwara no Chiko listened and slowly walked towards the pavilion. It seemed that the man was undoubtedly Matsumoto Takeyoshi. Under the veil, Fujiwara no Chiko gritted her teeth. She wanted to end him immediately. However, a little impatience spoils great plans. From the sharp eyes and breathing rhythm of the 2 masters beside him, the strength of these 2 masters was not below her. If it was a one-on-one fight, she might be able to barely win against the green-clothed master. However, if it was a fight with the white-clothed master, she had no chance of winning. Not to mention fighting both of them at the same time. He had to remain calm and not make the slightest mistake. Fujiwara no Chiko thought in her heart. She slowly stood 2 feet away from Matsumoto Takeyoshi. Ha ha! Matsumoto Takeyoshi slowly stood up and walked towards Fujiwara no Chiko. Yesterday I received a letter from your master. I heard that your master sent Miss Chiko to help me on my trip to Central Plains. God is helping me. Matsumoto Takeyoshi, with a sinister smile on his face, changed the topic and said straightforwardly, The outside world is saying that your father's death was caused by me. Aren't you afraid that I will kill you? I dare not disobey my master's order. Fujiwara no Chiko calmly said, As for the culprit who killed my father, I have already investigated. It is not anyone else but Tokugawa Ieyasu. Therefore, when I learned of Mr. Matsumoto's plan, my master sent me to help. I personally want to see Tokugawa Ieyasu's world fall into the hands of others. Good, Matsumoto Takeyoshi said with a smile. Miss Chiko is indeed a straightforward person. However, Matsumoto Takeyoshi said, this trip to Central Plains is extremely dangerous. I wonder what Miss Chiko's cultivation is like. Can you bear this heavy responsibility? Matsumoto Takeyoshi looked at Fujiwara no Chiko and asked. You can try, Fujiwara no Chiko said coldly. Matsumoto Takeyoshi did not answer. He only gave the green-clothed master a look. The green-clothed ninja immediately moved and appeared behind Fujiwara no Chiko. He reached for the chiho on her back. Fujiwara no Chiko sneered. She did not move and secretly circulated her inner strength. The moment the green-clothed ninja's hand touched the chiho's chiho, Fujiwara no Chiko immediately released her inner strength from the chiho on her back. The ninja in green could only feel an earth-shattering force emanating from the blade. The force was as strong as 1,000 caddies. He did not dare to be negligent and immediately flew back 3 feet. Even so, the force from the chiho's attack still made his arm numb. Fujiwara no Chiko turned around and faced the green-clothed ninja. She sneered. The green-clothed ninja was furious. Fujiwara no Chiko actually made him lose face in front of Matsumoto Takeyoshi. How could this be? He used his movement technique and changed his hand into a claw. A green-clothed shadow once again rushed toward her. What a fast movement technique! After seeing this, Fujiwara no Chiko did not dare to be negligent. She also used her movement technique and dodged the attack when the green-clothed ninja rushed in front of her. A white shadow quickly floated 3 feet behind the green-clothed ninja. Baka! The green-clothed ninja missed twice and became angry. He unsheathed the long blade in his hand. A green light flashed and a cold aura appeared. A long blade emitting a cold light appeared in front of Fujiwara no Chiko. Green leaf! Fujiwara no Chiko was secretly shocked. She once heard from her master, Ito Fumio, that the green leaf blade was made by Kazuken Sato, who was known as a genius bladesman in Japan. This person had a strange personality. He was silent and temperamental. He often appeared with different appearances. It was said that no one had ever seen his true face. Kazuken Sato would always make the blade according to his state of mind. It was said that he made a total of 3 famous blades in his life. The first one was made when he was 18 years old, and was called Flower Burial. The blade was 5 feet long and the blade was covered with naturally formed cherry blossom patterns. Flower Burial was extremely sharp. It could cut through copper and iron like tofu. What was even more amazing was that every time this blade was stained with human blood, the cherry blossom patterns on the blade would become more enchanting and dazzling. The blade would also become sharper. The second blade was the green-clothed ninja's green leaf blade. It was made by Kazuken Sato when he was 35 years old. The blade was 3.5 feet long and the blade was covered with a green light. It was so cold that it could penetrate one's soul. There was a pattern of a withered tree on the blade. It was said that if this blade was used to its maximum power, the withered tree would be covered with green leaves. It would be full of vitality and lifelike. However, no one had ever seen it. Or rather, those who had seen it were all dead. This green leaf blade was like the Flower Burial. It was extremely sharp. However, unlike the Flower Burial, this green leaf blade was not stained with human blood. Even if the blade was soaked in a pool of blood, it would not be stained with blood after being taken out. It was called the purest blade by those in the industry. The third saber was forged by him when he was 60 years old. It was called Skybreaker, and was 4.5 feet long. Its entire body was smooth and white without a single pattern. Only the hilt was inlaid with a golden bell made of an unknown material. Whenever he fought with an enemy, Skybreaker would let out a clear ringing sound. The ringing sound of the bell was soul-sucking. After the opponent heard the ringing sound of the bell, they would become intoxicated. When the bell stopped ringing, it was the time for the enemy to die. It was said that those who heard the ringing sound would die with a strange smile on their face. In addition, this sky-breaker was much sharper than flower burial and green leaf. According to Ito Fumio's memories, his master had seen the power of sky-breaker with his own eyes. He had an ordinary person stand on an anvil that was 3 feet thick and hold the blade with one hand. He held the blade vertically with the tip of the blade facing downward. He gently touched the anvil with the tip of the blade and instantly let go. In the end, a strange scene appeared. The air-shattering saber was directly inserted into the anvil, straight into the scabbard. It was as if the anvil did not exist. The sharpness of Skybreaker could be seen. After making these 3 blades, Sato Kazuken disappeared from Jianghu. There were no more rumors about him. It was said that he went out to travel. When Fujiwara no Chiko saw that his opponent had the legendary green leaf blade, he did not dare to be careless. He reached out his hand and pulled out the Chiho from his back. With the roar of a tiger and the roar of a dragon, a shining long blade appeared in front of the crowd. The Chiho emitted an endless amount of killing intent. Its white light was dazzling and eye-catching. Good blade. The ninja in white, who had been silent all this time, spat out 2 words. From the beginning of the fight until now, the ninja in white had been resting with his eyes closed. He did not even open his eyes until Fujiwara no Chiko pulled out the Chiho. All right. Matsumoto Takeyoshi suddenly spoke up. Let's end the competition here. When the ninja in green heard that, he snorted and slowly put the green leaf blade back into the scabbard. Fujiwara no Chiko also put the Chiho back into the scabbard. Ms. Chiko has indeed learned from Mr. Ito. You have such a high cultivation at such a young age. How rare. Matsumoto Takeyoshi laughed. It seems like the heavens are helping me. I have such a strong general. Ha ha ha. After Matsumoto Takeyoshi laughed, he said to Fujiwara no Chiko, from today onwards, I appoint you as the White Cloak secret envoy. You can enter and leave the Mucho Mansion freely. When the time comes, follow me to Great Ming. Lend me a hand. I'm willing to listen to your orders. Fujiwara no Chiko knelt down on one knee. After this is done, I will let you kill Tokugawa Ieyasu with your own hand. Matsumoto Takeyoshi waved his hand and a servant came to Fujiwara no Chiko with a rectangular brocade box in his hand. This is... Fujiwara no Chiko did not know what Matsumoto Takeyoshi meant. Chapter 54. Magical Muramasa? When Fujiwara no Chiko heard these words, she snatched the brocade box and immediately opened it. Whoosh! A white light shot up from the brocade box and didn't dissipate for a long time. It really is my father's magical Muramasa, Fujiwara no Chiko exclaimed as she gently stroked her father's last work. Her heart felt like it was being stabbed by a knife. Your father is the person I respect the most, Matsumoto Takeyoshi said. At that time, when Tokugawa Ieyasu ordered me to capture your father, Fujiwara Kaga, and destroy all the Muramasa blades, I secretly swapped the magical Muramasa and used a fake one to complete the task. It was so that one day I could hand over the magical Muramasa to you. Since Mr. Fujiwara's accident, I asked around and found out that you were sent to the palace to be a servant, so I sent people to secretly protect you and solve a lot of problems for you. After you followed Mr. Ito, I thought that you would try to find a way to take revenge on me, but I didn't expect that your master, Mr. Ito, would be so righteous and tell you the whole story. If Mr. Fujiwara knew that he had such a filial daughter, he would definitely smile in the underworld. After Matsumoto Takeyoshi said these words, he changed the topic. Now that the magical Muramasa has been returned to its original owner, I have one less thing to worry about. Master is considerate, Fujiwara no Chiko said. She secretly scolded him in her heart. After I take over the country, I will definitely clear Mr. Fujiwara's name and announce it to the world. You can rest assured, Matsumoto Takeyoshi said. For the next few days, you can live in Muchio Mansion or return to your master. After 7 days, we will immediately set off for the Great Ming Dynasty. 7 days? Yes, in order to find out the whereabouts of the Great Ming Dynasty's national treasure, I have already arranged a lot of people to secretly move inside the Ming Dynasty. A few days ago, I received news that there is already a force inside the Ming Dynasty that is also searching for the whereabouts of the national treasure, and their strength is not weak. In order to guard against any changes, we will secretly go to the Great Ming Dynasty after 7 days. On the one hand, we will secretly investigate the whereabouts of the nation's divine weapon. On the other hand, we will converge with our people to fight against this force. We must not let the divine weapon fall into their hands. Matsumoto Takeyoshi said, "Get ready for the next few days. We'll meet here in 7 days." Yes. Fujiwara no Chiko carried Mystic Arts Muramasa on his back, bowed deeply to Matsumoto Takeyoshi, and then turned to leave. After Fujiwara no Chiko left, the ninja slowly walked to Matsumoto Takeyoshi and asked, "Why did you make me lose to her on purpose and give her the Mirage Muramasa?" Hee. Matsumoto Takeyoshi smiled and reclined on the futon again, playing with the jade teacup with one hand. "The reason why I made you lose to her on purpose is to make her mistakenly think that her strength is above yours. One day in the future, I will make you kill her." Matsumoto Takeyoshi took a sip of tea and then said, "I gave her the Mirage Muramasa to let her understand that I completely trust her. After you kill her in the future, you can take it back." The ninja nodded as he listened. Matsumoto Takeyoshi put down the teacup and lay comfortably on the futon. A sly smile appeared on his face. Everything was under his control. An hour later, Fujiwara no Chiko returned to the wooden house on Mount Fuji. At this time, Ito Fumio was meditating in the courtyard. Fujiwara no Chiko did not dare to make any movements and stood quietly to the side. "It seems that things went well," Ito Fumio, who still had his eyes closed, said. "Otherwise, how could you get the Mirage Muramasa?" Ito Fumio's words surprised Fujiwara no Chiko. Her master could sense that she was carrying the Mirage Muramasa without opening his eyes. It seemed that she would never be able to guess her master's cultivation. "Master is master, I can't hide anything from you." After Fujiwara no Chiko finished speaking, she took the Mirage Muramasa off her back and handed it to Ito Fumio. "Master, look, this is the Mirage Muramasa." Ito Fumio opened his eyes and took the Mirage Muramasa. He carefully looked at the katana. "It's really a good katana," Ito Fumio exclaimed. "Just now, I only felt a strong aura coming closer and closer, and I also felt the strong murderous aura of Chiho. I knew that you must have come back, and you must have brought the Mirage Muramasa with you. Except for this, no other weapon can emit such an aura." Fujiwara no Chiko explained everything to Ito Fumio. After listening to her, Ito Fumio frowned. "It's not that simple." Ito Fumio stood up and pulled the Mirage Muramasa out of its scabbard. Only the roar of a tiger and the roar of a dragon could be heard. The katana's aura was like a white rainbow piercing through the sun. Under the sunlight, a rainbow of colors appeared in the white light. "This Mirage Muramasa is Matsumoto Takeyoshi's favorite item," Ito Fumio said as he put the katana back into its scabbard. "The reason why he gave it to you is to let you know that he completely trusts you. As for the master in green, he's definitely not like what you said." Ito Fumio handed the Mirage Muramasa to Fujiwara no Chiko. "To tell you the truth, with his strength, if you use Chiho, he can take your life in 3 moves with his bare hands. If he uses the green leaf blade," Ito Fumio said slowly, "you can't even dodge 1 move." "What?" Ito Fumio's words made Fujiwara no Chiko feel a chill on her back. Her master's words couldn't be wrong. It seemed that the ninja in green had deliberately hidden his strength. As for that white-robed expert, he is even more powerful. As far as I know, his strength is already on par with mine. Ito Fumio said, that green-robed expert is simply worthless in front of him. After Fujiwara no Chiko heard this, she was so shocked that she couldn't speak for a long time. Just now, she had actually walked through the gates of hell. If Matsumoto Takeyoshi wanted to take her life, it would be as easy as turning over his hand. You will stay on Mount Fuji for 7 days. Ito Fumio turned and walked towards the wooden building. In these 7 days, I will teach you the unique skill, Thousand Executioner. As for how much you can learn, it will depend on your luck. Thousand Executioner? Fujiwara no Chiko suddenly remembered the day when her master brought her up the mountain and met the ninja in white. She heard these 3 words from the ninja in white and knew that this Thousand Executioner was the unique skill that made her master famous. She had been learning for 10 years, but her master didn't teach her the Thousand Executioner. Now, her master actually offered to teach her this unique skill. Fujiwara no Chiko was so excited that she almost thought she was dreaming. Chapter 55. 7 days later. Twilight Autumn Manor. Fujiwara no Chiko arrived early with the sword case that her master, Ito Fumio, had given her, but she realized that she was already late. There were already more than 30 people standing outside Matsumoto Takeyoshi's pavilion. Most of them were dressed like servants, but from their sharp eyes and light breathing rhythm, they were all top experts. Beside Matsumoto Takeyoshi were 3 people that Fujiwara Chiko had never seen before, other than the 2 experts, one in green and one in white. The first person was very tall and burly, almost twice the height of a normal person. He wore a navy blue samurai uniform and had a long sword at his waist. The sword was 6 feet long, and it was the longest sword that Fujiwara no Chiko had ever seen. This person had a pair of eagle eyes, and his gaze was sharp. His bronze skin, well-developed muscles, and the 2 scars on his face made people feel that this person was not a good person. The second person was of medium build, and he wore black armor from head to toe. Even his hands and feet were covered with steel gloves and boots. He wore a ferocious black bronze mask on his face, revealing only his eyes. He held a black sword in his hand, and carried a quiver of arrows and a crossbow on his back. He was well equipped. The third person was even weirder. He wore a wide black robe, and a huge hat hung down below his eyes. There were more than 10 blood-red flowers embroidered on the black robe. From the wrinkles on his skin, this person was an old man. But what made Fujiwara no Chiko feel strange was that she could not feel the breathing of this black-robed person. It seemed that this person's cultivation had reached the realm of perfection. Fujiwara no Chiko did not see any weapons on him. Perhaps they were hidden in the wide black robe. Fujiwara no Chiko stepped into the pavilion and came to Matsumoto Takeyoshi. She bowed deeply to him and said, "Master." After that, she glanced at the 3 experts, and they looked back at her expressionlessly. "Yes, everyone is here," Matsumoto Takeyoshi said as he turned around and walked into the pavilion. The 2 experts immediately followed him. "The 4 of you follow me," Matsumoto Takeyoshi said. The 4 people, including Fujiwara no Chiko, immediately followed behind and entered the pavilion. Fujiwara no Chiko deliberately followed at the back. This way, she could carefully observe the 3 experts walking in front of her and analyze their weaknesses and strengths, so that she could be fully prepared. In the future, once her true intentions were exposed, she could not avoid fighting with these 3 people. But to her disappointment, these 3 people did not seem to have any weaknesses. The tall and sturdy man not only had light footwork, but also the long sword on his shoulder did not sway in the slightest. The sword and the person were one, which showed that his sword skills were outstanding. The expert in heavy armor following closely behind was the same. Although he was wearing heavy armor, his footwork was light, as if he was wearing ordinary clothes, and did not make any noise. The old man in black robe in front of Fujiwara no Chiko was even more incredible to Fujiwara no Chiko. She could not see the movement of his legs. Under the black robe, he seemed to be floating on the ground. It seemed that these three people were experts among experts. She must be careful. Under the guidance of Matsumoto Takeyoshi, the group silently came to a beautifully decorated door. When the two guards in front of the door saw Matsumoto Takeyoshi, they immediately opened the door slowly. A magnificent hall immediately appeared in front of everyone. The first thing that caught their eyes was a huge golden statue of a man. This statue was 3 feet tall. It was in the image of a man, wearing armor and holding a sword. The most surprising thing was that this statue had 3 eyes. The third eye was on the forehead. It was carved out of a whole ruby and slightly emitted a red light. After entering the hall, Matsumoto Takeyoshi changed his usual high and mighty image and became very humble. He bent his waist and walked to the front of the mat with small step. Then, he knelt down and kowtowed. "My lord, we have prepared everything. We hope that my lord will protect us and make everything go smoothly," Matsumoto Takeyoshi said. After Fujiwara no Chiko heard this, she couldn't help but find it funny. This Matsumoto Takeyoshi actually believed in the illusory talk of ghosts and God. She was not the only one. The tall expert also had a look of disdain on his face. The masked man in heavy armor also let out a cold laugh. Only the black-robed man did the same as the 2 experts. He imitated Matsumoto Takeyoshi's actions and kowtowed to the statue. Just when the 3 people felt that it was funny, a strange scene made them unable to laugh anymore. The eye on the forehead of the statue suddenly shone with a red light. It was so dazzling that the entire golden hall was illuminated with a red light. Fujiwara no Chiko suddenly felt a strong force like Mount Tai pressing down on her body. This force was extremely overbearing. Even if she used her true chi to resist, it was useless. At this time, she couldn't control her body and her knees immediately knelt on the ground. Looking at the other 2 people, they were also like her. They were also forced to kneel on the ground by this force. The tall expert had a look of disbelief on his face, and the masked man in heavy armor no longer sneered. After the red light passed, everything returned to normal. The overbearing force that was pressing down on the 3 people also disappeared. After everyone got up, Matsumoto Takeyoshi waved his hand and a maid immediately brought a tray. On the tray there were 5 cups and a jug of wine. Matsumoto Takeyoshi picked up the jug of wine and filled the 5 cups one by one. He walked in front of the 4 people and placed the 4 cups of wine in their hands. "With the protection of great god Sietian, I believe we will be invincible on this expedition. Everything will depend on everyone." Matsumoto Takeyoshi finished speaking and drank the wine in his cup. The 4 of them nodded and also drank the wine in their hands. Since Matsumoto Takeyoshi drank it, it meant that the wine wasn't poisonous. "Inform everyone to set off immediately." Matsumoto Takeyoshi gave the order. After 4 hours the group was already on the vast sea. The giant ship under their feet broke through the waves, moving at full speed. The white-clothed Fujiwara no Chiko stood on the deck, looking at the vast sea in a daze. For this trip, not only did her master Ito Fumio give her the sword case he used in the past, there were also 4 battle swords in the sword case. These 4 battle swords were Ito Fumio's beloved items. In order to prevent any accidents, he let Fujiwara no Chiko wear them. Furthermore, Ito Fumio also told her the address of his China friend surnamed Yi. He told her that if her identity was exposed, she should ask for help from his friend surnamed Yi. He and his friend were friends through life and death, so he could be assured. "Father, you must protect Chiko and help her kill her enemy," Fujiwara no Chiko silently prayed. "Miss Chiko, what are you thinking about?" The black-clothed man came to Fujiwara no Chiko's side. "So it's Hattori Chiko," Fujiwara no Chiko replied. The cabin is too stuffy, so I came out to get some air. After Matsumoto Takeyoshi's introduction, Fujiwara no Chiko understood the general situation of the three people. The black-clothed man in front of her was called Hattori Chiko, an old man who was obsessed with weapons. His cultivation was profound, and he had a lot of special skills. He was obsessed with China's weapons culture. This time, he was recruited by Matsumoto Takeyoshi because Matsumoto Takeyoshi promised him that as long as he could help him obtain the Ming Dynasty's divine weapon, everything else would be easy. In the future, as long as he liked the Ming Dynasty's divine weapon, he could take away any weapon he wanted. The tall samurai was called Sasaki, and his martial arts were superb. Ordinary swords could not hurt him at all. At most, they would leave a white mark on his body. Not only was his swordsmanship outstanding, but he was also very strong. As for the masked man in heavy armor, Fujiwara no Chiko knew very little about him. She only knew that his name was Miyamoto Akichi, and that his swordsmanship was strange, and his archery was exquisite. I've long heard about your father, Kaiga Fujiwara. I've also met your father once, Hattori Chiyo said in his hoarse voice as he gazed at the sea. I admire your father's sword-making skills very much. Unfortunately, he passed away at such a young age. Fujiwara no Chiko asked, Mr. Hattori, you have met my father? How come I don't have any impression of you, Mr. Chiko? Ha 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 ha. Hattori Chiko laughed loudly. When I met your father, you weren't even born yet. I see, Fujiwara no Chiko replied. With all due respect, Hattori Chiko changed the topic and said in a low voice, based on my understanding of Mr. Fujiwara, his death is not as simple as you think. After that, he turned to look at Fujiwara no Chiko. Mr. Hattori, thank you for your concern, Fujiwara no Chiko said as she turned around. But this is the Fujiwara family's business. I know who is right and who is wrong. You don't have to worry about it. After that, she walked into the cabin. Hattori Chiko, who was standing on the deck, lowered his head and thought for a while. Suddenly, a strange smile appeared on his face. I see, after Fujiwara Chiko returned to her room, she began to concentrate and meditate cross-legged. Hattori Chiko's words were obviously hinting at her. He still couldn't tell if this person was a friend or foe, and he couldn't fully believe what he said. Perhaps Matsumoto Takeyoshi had sent him to test him. The only thing he could do now was to sit on the fishing boat and wait for the storm to come. She needed to deal with all changes by remaining unchanged. As Fujiwara no Chiko was thinking, there was a knock on the door. She quickly got up and opened the heavy cabin door. There was a waiter standing outside with a food box in his hand. Sorry to disturb you, Miss Chiko. The waiter bowed to her. Mr. Matsumoto said that the wind is strong and the waves are strong. It's easy to lose your appetite. He specially ordered me to bring some fruits for Ms. Chiko to quench your thirst. The waiter placed the food box on the table. Please thank Mr. Matsumoto on my behalf, Fujiwara no Chiko said. The waiter nodded, bowed, and left the cabin. Fujiwara no Chiko looked back at the food box on the table and listened carefully to the waiter's footstep. Only then did she feel relieved. Judging from the waiter's light footwork, he was obviously a ninja. She knew the methods of ninjas. They would do anything to achieve their goals. She opened the food box. It was full of fresh fruit. Fujiwara no Chiko used the poison detection method that her master Ito Fumio had taught her. After carefully inspecting the fruits, she felt relieved to eat them. Just as Matsumoto Takeyoshi had said, the wind was strong and the waves were strong. Even such a huge warship would often be swayed by the wind. Fujiwara no Chiko had never been out to sea. If it wasn't for her cultivation, she would have vomited. But even so, she still couldn't eat. These fruits came at the right time. After Fujiwara no Chiko finished eating the fruits, she continued to meditate. Her master Ito Fumio had told her that her 1,000 executions was only at the beginning. At best, she was at the second level. The reason was that she didn't have enough true chi. It must be known that there were 7 levels to the 1,000 executions. They all relied on the true chi in the body. If she didn't have enough true chi, then this 1,000 executions was just an empty shell. So whenever Fujiwara no Chiko had time, she would sit cross-legged and meditate, concentrating on true chi. Early the next morning, there was a sudden noise on the originally quiet deck. Fujiwara no Chiko immediately opened her eyes and got up. Carrying her sword case, she went to the deck. At this time, the deck was full of people. These people were all holding bows and arrows. Their whole body was on guard, nervously looking at the calm sea, as if they were facing a great enemy. "What's going on?" Matsumoto Takeyoshi came over with his clothes on. Behind him were 2 masters, one in green and one in white. Following closely behind were the black-robed Hattori Chiyo, the blue-robed warrior Sasaki, and the heavily armored Miyamoto Akichi. "Sir," a person who looked like a ninja leader saw Matsumoto Takeyoshi and immediately knelt on one knee. "There is a sea monster in the sea." "Sea monster?" Matsumoto Takeyoshi frowned. "What sea monster?" "It's a huge sea snake," the leader said. "Sea snake?" Matsumoto Takeyoshi had some doubts in his heart. His subordinates were all elites, the cream of the crop. They would not be frightened by an ordinary sea snake. The sea snake they saw this time must be huge. Matsumoto Takeyoshi was looking for an opportunity to see the cultivation of these people. Now it seems that the sea snake came at the right time. "It's just a sea snake. Don't panic," Matsumoto Takeyoshi said. "With these 4 masters here, there is nothing to be afraid of." "Yes." The ninja leader understood Matsumoto Takeyoshi's meaning. With a wave of his hand, all the ninjas on the deck immediately retreated. "You guys, it's up to you," Matsumoto Takeyoshi said as he walked to the back of the deck. A ninja immediately brought a deck chair. Matsumoto Takeyoshi leaned his body on the deck chair. His meaning was obvious. He wanted to see them subdue the sea snake with his own eyes. The 4 of them looked at each other and slowly walked to the bow of the ship and stood still. The sea breeze blew. Except for Miyamoto Akichi, the robes of the 3 people were fluttering in the wind. Matsumoto Takeyoshi opened his eyes wide and carefully observed the movements of these 4 people. Of these 4 people, except for Fujiwara no Chiko, he hasn't seen the abilities of the other 3 people. He just heard from the ninja that these 3 people are strong and can be put to good use. After the 4 of them stood still, there was no movement on the sea for a long time. "What's the matter?" Matsumoto Takeyoshi was a little impatient. "Where is the sea snake?" "It was just here." The ninja leader also didn't understand why the giant sea snake that was still jumping around suddenly disappeared without a trace. Chapter 56. The whirlpool formed at an astonishing speed, and soon it formed a black hole with a radius of about 10 feet. Matsumoto Takeyoshi ordered the warship to leave the whirlpool and ordered all the archers to be on guard in case of any accidents. After receiving the order, the huge warship began to slowly turn around, and all the archers immediately came to the bow and aimed their crossbows at the deep black whirlpool not far away. The whirlpool rotated faster and faster, and with a bang, a water column suddenly rose from the middle of the whirlpool. The water splashed everywhere and huge waves surged. The waves hit the warship and the warship shook violently. "It's here," the ninja beside Matsumoto Takeyoshi said calmly. As soon as the ninja's voice fell, a huge head broke out of the whirlpool. This scene shocked everyone present, and Matsumoto Takeyoshi was so shocked that he almost fell from his chair. The huge head was triangular, and the dark brown scales were shining under the sunlight. A pair of wheel-sized yellowish-brown eyes were filled with greed and insidious gaze, and a long blood-red snake tongue flickered back and forth. This sea snake was simply too big. Just the head alone was more than 10 feet high, and the scales were more than a foot long. The sea snake's body was getting taller and taller, and finally reached the same height as the mast of the warship. It was like a dragon looking down at the people on the warship. "Release the arrows. Quickly release the arrows," Matsumoto Takeyoshi shouted. At this time, he was no longer in the mood to test the strength of these people. The most important thing now was to save his life. After receiving the order, the ninja troops immediately shot all the arrows in their hands towards the clown sea serpent without reservation. These ninja troops all used continuous firing crossbows, which can shoot 4 arrows at the same time. Moreover, all the arrows were dipped in poison, and each arrowhead glowed with a faint blue light. A dense rain of arrows flashed with blue light as they whistled towards the sea serpent. Phew! Matsumoto Takeyoshi let out a long breath. It seemed that this sea snake would soon become a hornet's nest. However, what happened next shocked him so much that he broke out in a cold sweat. Seeing that the rain of arrows was about to hit the sea snake's head, the sea snake suddenly arched its body, then opened its mouth, and with a whoosh, a huge stream of air came out of its mouth. The rain of arrows immediately lost their power after being hit by this air current, falling into the sea one after another. After the sea snake finished spraying, it still looked down at the people on the warship, like a cat playing with a mouse. "Baka!" Matsumoto Takeyoshi was furious. "The 4 of you, no matter who it is, immediately kill it," Matsumoto Takeyoshi ordered the 4 people. On the bow of the ship, Akichi Miyamoto, who was wearing heavy armor, slowly took the longbow from his back, then pulled out an arrow from the quiver, and put it on the bowstring. The whole bow was made of an unknown material. It was as black as ink, and the arrows were the same. The whole bow was pitch black and shone with a cold light. Akichi Miyamoto pulled the longbow to the fullest. His whole body was one with the bow in his hand. With a whoosh, a black light shot directly toward the sea snake's head like a meteor. The black arrow arrived in front of the giant sea snake as soon as it left the longbow. Its speed was so fast that everyone was shocked. Even Fujiwara no Chiko could barely keep up with the speed of the black arrow. "Good archery," the white-clothed expert beside Matsumoto Takeyoshi said. Seeing the arrow coming, the sea snake used the same trick again. It arched its body, opened its mouth, and with a whoosh, spat out a strong stream of air again. However, this time, the stream of air did not have any effect. The black arrow was still powerful, and it went straight into the sea snake's mouth along with the stream of air. With a whoosh, the black arrow directly penetrated the sea snake's huge head and came out from the back of the sea snake's head. Suddenly, the sea snake's brain burst open, and blood splattered everywhere. The sea snake roared, and its huge body began to tilt. With a bang, it fell into the sea, stirring up a huge wave that was more than 100 feet high. All the ninjas present were silent. They were all elites in the ninja army. They had seen all kinds of battle formations, but this was the first time they had seen such archery. Not to mention them, even Fujiwara no Chiko and the other 2 had never seen such powerful archery. The rain of arrows could not do anything to the sea snake, but Akichi Miyamoto easily killed it with 1 arrow. Hattori Chiyo, Fujiwara no Chiko, and Sasaki raised their eyebrows slightly. It seemed that they could not underestimate Akichi Miyamoto in the future. "Good!" Matsumoto Takeyoshi stood up at once. "Miyamoto-san, your archery is indeed superb." Akichi Miyamoto was still as usual. After carrying the longbow on his back, he nodded slightly to Matsumoto Takeyoshi and turned to return to the cabin. Among the 4 of them, he was the least talkative, even when facing Matsumoto Takeyoshi. Just as everyone was about to leave, something even more unexpected happened. 3 huge whirlpools appeared in front of the battleship and not far from the left and right sides of the battleship at the same time. Boom! 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 While everyone was still in shock, 3 huge sea snakes emerged from the sea at the same time. Their faces were ferocious, and their tongues were hissing. These 3 sea snakes were bigger than the one that was killed by Akechi Miyamoto's arrow. These 3 sea snakes were obviously the same kind of sea snake, and it seemed that they wanted to avenge their companion. They first surrounded the battleship in a triangular formation, then gradually began to close in on the battleship. Baka! Matsumoto Takeyoshi cursed. We've poked their nest. Akechi Miyamoto, who was about to return to the cabin, immediately returned to the bow and took the longbow from his back again, ready to kill the 3 in the same way. However, he was stopped by Hattori Chixio's outstretched hand. Miyamoto-san, leave it to the 3 of us this time, Hattori Chixio said in his hoarse voice. You can't take all the credit alone. After hearing that, Akechi Miyamoto turned to look at Sasaki and Fujiwara no Chiko, then put the arrow back into the quiver, carried the longbow on his back, and returned to the deck. Hey, thanks. Hattori Chixio laughed. You too, let's not be idle. 1 for each of us. After that, he took out a red sword from his black robe. This sword was completely in the style of the Middle Earth. The sword was 1 meter long, and its entire body was suffused with a flame-like red light. A lifelike fire dragon coiled around the body of the sword, glaring with golden eyes and holding a flame-wrapped dragon pearl in its mouth. As soon as the sword appeared, the 2 masters beside Matsumoto Takeyoshi, 1 in green and 1 in white, immediately changed their expressions. The flaming sword! The master in white exclaimed in a low voice. This sword, is it powerful? Matsumoto Takeyoshi saw the 2 masters' expressions change at the same time, and hurriedly asked. It is said to be a divine weapon from the Middle Earth, and its power is amazing. The master in green replied. Is it that powerful? Matsumoto Takeyoshi said, leaning back in his chair. I'd like to see it this time. Hattori Chixio laughed as he pointed the unsheathed flaming sword at one of the sea serpents. He concentrated his chi, and used his chi to activate the flaming sword in his hand. The flaming sword in his hand suddenly shone with a red light, emitting a scorching heat wave. Even Sasaki and Fujiwara no Chiko had to take a step back to avoid this terrifying heat wave. The red light of the flaming sword in Hattori Chixio's hand became brighter and brighter. In the blink of an eye, the entire bow of the ship was illuminated in red. Just when everyone was about to be overwhelmed by the heat wave, a red light as thick as a bowl shot out from the flaming sword, directly hitting one of the sea serpents. The red light directly pierced through the head of the sea serpent, and then a raging fire burned the huge body of the sea serpent. Hiss! The sea serpent let out a loud hiss, twisting its burning body and falling into the sea. This is the power of the flaming sword. Matsumoto Takeyoshi was shocked. This is only the unsheathed flaming sword. At most, it can only exert 10% of its power, the master in white said slowly. Matsumoto Takeyoshi was so shocked that he didn't say a word. Fujiwara no Chiko, Sasaki, and even Miyamoto Akechi on the deck were too shocked to say a word. An unsheathed sword was already so powerful. If it was unsheathed, then what would it be like if it was unsheathed? The 3 of them did not dare to think further. Hattori Chixio seemed to be very satisfied with his performance. He put the flaming sword back under his black robe, slowly walked down the bow of the ship, and stood next to Miyamoto Akechi, who was wearing heavy armor. His meaning was obvious. His mission was completed. Humph! Sasaki sneered as he walked to the bow of the ship. He slowly pulled out the 6-foot-long katana from his waist. A gleaming katana appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The body of the katana was black, and the blade was white. It looked very domineering. Sasaki, who is twice as tall as others, with the 6-foot-long katana, looks like a god of war descending to the earth under the blowing sea breeze. Death katana? Fujiwara no Chiko suddenly remembered the origin of this katana recorded in her master's book collection. According to legend, this katana was forged in the volcano of Mount Fuji by more than a dozen famous blacksmiths in ancient times. It was said that a monster appeared in ancient Japan. This monster was very powerful. Its body was cold, and wherever it went, it would turn into a world of ice and snow. In order to get rid of this monster, people gathered more than a dozen famous blacksmiths and used the black gold in the volcano of Mount Fuji to forge this katana. In the end, the monster was killed with this katana. Fujiwara no Chiko originally thought that this was just a legend. She did not expect such a katana to exist. Death katana? The white-clothed expert raised his eyebrows and said, "It's getting more and more interesting." The burly Sasaki held the katana in his mouth and took off his navy blue samurai suit with his hands, revealing extremely strong bronze chest muscles. After taking off his shirt, he held the katana with both hands and swept it horizontally in the air. With a swish sound, a transparent katana was emitted from the katana and instantly rushed to the huge sea snake. The sea serpent paused for a moment, then stopped moving. After making the move, Sasaki sheathed the katana, put on his samurai suit, and slowly walked down the bow of the ship. What's going on? What's going on? Matsumoto Takeyoshi asked as he looked at the unharmed sea serpent. It's dead. The blue-clothed expert beside him said. Dead? Matsumoto Takeyoshi was puzzled. Just as his mind was filled with questions, the giant sea serpent's head slowly slid down from its neck. The huge blood-red incision made people shudder. Good. What a fast katana. Matsumoto Takeyoshi finally understood what had happened. There was only one sea snake left. Seeing that its companions were all dead, it could not help but feel angry. It dived its head into the sea and quickly swam toward the warship. Although it was angry, it was not stupid. The people on the ship were obviously very strong. If they could not do it on the surface, they would attack underwater. It planned to swim under the warship and use brute force to overturn the warship. In this way, these people would be its food. At this time, only Fujiwara no Chiko was left on the bow of the ship. The sea snake swam quickly, leaving a long trail on the surface of the sea. Seeing the sea snake dive into the sea, Hattori Chihiro and the others did not dare to delay. They immediately came to the bow of the ship and watched the sea snake's movements. We agreed that this is mine, Fujiwara no Chiko said as she patted the katana box. With a bang, the secret compartment opened. 5 katanas, including Chihiro, were quietly inserted into the box. Fujiwara no Chiko stretched out her hand and took out the black katana. After the katana was taken out, the box automatically closed. Fujiwara no Chiko exerted strength on the tip of her toes and used her movement skills. With a leap, a white shadow flashed and she was already in mid-air. With a swish, the katana was unsheathed. A cold light flashed in her hand. The katana emitted a strong murderous aura that sent chills down everyone's spine. What a strong murderous aura! The katana is indeed worthy of its reputation. Hattori Chihiro praised from the bottom of his heart. Katana slash! In midair, Fujiwara no Chiko raised the katana in her hand up high. As she descended, she used the first style of the 1,000 executioners, katana slash. A huge white blade aura was emitted from the katana in her hand. It was like moving clouds and flowing water, with an imposing aura. As Fujiwara no Chiko's body landed on the deck, the huge white blade aura instantly slashed into the sea. With a boom, the air billowed and water splashed everywhere. The huge white blade aura forcefully split open a hole in the sea. Fujiwara no Chiko sheathed her katana and placed it back into the box. Then she nonchalantly turned around and walked down the ship's bow. Without stopping, she nodded towards Matsumoto Takeyoshi and directly entered the ship's cabin. Hattori Chihiro and the other 2 looked at each other in dismay. They did not know what Fujiwara no Chiko was planning. Whether or not the sea serpent was dead, no one knew. Matsumoto Takeyoshi was also confused. But from the shocked expressions of the 2 experts, one green and one white, he guessed that the sea serpent was already dead. Just as everyone was guessing, There was a loud splash as the corpse of the huge sea snake floated up to the side of the battleship. When everyone saw it, they couldn't help but turn pale with fright. This huge sea snake that was more than 100 feet long had actually been cut in half from head to tail. Miyamoto Akichi and the other two frowned. They did not expect a woman to possess such a tyrannical blade technique. The three of them immediately had a whole new level of respect for Fujiwara no Chiko. After not seeing her for a few days, her blade technique actually reached such a level. Seems like I underestimated her. The green-clothed expert said. Ito Takayoshi's 1,000 executioners is indeed formidable. The white-clothed expert frowned and said, Brilliant, truly brilliant. Matsumoto Takayoshi clapped his hands and said, Everyone possesses unique skills and profound cultivation. Seems like this trip to Middle-earth is already in my grasp. Ha 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 ha. Matsumoto Takayoshi laughed as he turned and walked towards the ship's cabin. The green and white experts followed closely behind. Chapter 57. The warship sailed on the sea for 2 days and 2 nights. On this day, before dawn, Fujiwara no Chiko was meditating in her room. Suddenly, she heard a servant report that the warship had entered the Ming dynasty's waters and would be able to disembark in a few hours. Matsumoto Takayoshi invited Fujiwara no Chiko to the main cabin for a discussion. I understand. Fujiwara no Chiko sent the servant away. The warship sailed on the sea for 3 days and 3 nights. Finally, they were able to disembark. She carried her scabbard and slowly walked out of the sleeping cabin. Just as she stepped out of the cabin, she saw Hattori Chihiro walking out of the sleeping cabin not far from her. Good morning, Miss Chiko. Hattori Chihiro greeted Fujiwara no Chiko. Good morning, Mr. Hattori. Fujiwara no Chiko returned the greeting. The two of them walked side by side to Matsumoto Takayoshi's main cabin. If I'm not wrong, the reason why we were summoned is to assign us missions. Hattori Chihiro whispered. Oh? Is that so? Fujiwara no Chiko said. Haha, Matsumoto Takayoshi is naturally suspicious. He didn't assign us missions in advance because he was afraid that things would change. That's why he assigned us missions when we arrived at the Ming dynasty's territory. Hattori Chihiro smiled. I bet that the 4 of us will be divided into 2 groups to carry out missions so that we can keep an eye on each other. Is that so? Fujiwara no Chiko said. It seems that Mr. Hattori knows everything about Matsumoto Takayoshi like the back of your hand. Haha. Hattori Chihiro laughed. I'm old. I've seen all kinds of people. Hattori Chihiro suddenly lowered his voice. If I'm not wrong, Miss Chiko's purpose is to kill Matsumoto Takayoshi and avenge your father, right? Fujiwara no Chiko was so startled by these words that she stopped abruptly. She slapped the scabbard, and the scabbard opened with a swish sound. She reached out and grabbed the chiho in her hand. The person in front of her could see through her intentions at a glance. It seemed that this person did not have good intentions and seemed to know a lot about her. Although her master, Ito Fumio, had clearly stated in the letter to Matsumoto Takayoshi that the purpose of her visit was to seek revenge, Matsumoto Takayoshi would not touch her yet. After all, she still had value to him. However, if Hattori Chihiro were to make things clear, Matsumoto Takayoshi and he would be at odds with each other. The original balance would be broken. Fujiwara no Chiko held the chiho tightly as she looked at Hattori Chihiro. Her mind raced as she thought of a way to deal with this situation. She also prepared herself for the worst. Young people can't keep their cool. Hattori Chihiro looked around cautiously and said in a low voice, If I wanted to deal with you, I would have told Matsumoto Takayoshi long ago. Why wait until now? What do you want? Fujiwara no Chiko held the hilt of her katana, ready to attack at any time. I've already told you that I've met your father, Kaga Fujiwara. Back then, I was addicted to the katana like my life depended on it. I once asked for a custom-made katana from your father. However, your father said that my evil aura was too strong. If I were to get a good katana, I would definitely cause great suffering. He told me that when my evil aura was gone, he would make a good katana for me. 10 years ago, I thought that my evil aura was gone, so I prepared to visit him again. Unfortunately, Hattori Chihiro shook his head. You know what happened after that. After hearing this, Fujiwara no Chiko loosened her grip on the hilt of her katana. Trust me, Hattori Chihiro whispered. I will only help you. I won't hurt you. Fujiwara no Chiko didn't say anything, but put the katana back into its scabbard. Let's go. If we're late, Matsumoto Takeyoshi will be suspicious. Hattori Chihiro turned around and continued to walk towards Matsumoto Takeyoshi's main cabin. Fujiwara no Chiko stood still and watched Hattori Chihiro walk into Matsumoto Takeyoshi's berth cabin. Only then did she carry her scabbard and slowly walk to Matsumoto Takeyoshi's main cabin. After pushing the door open, Fujiwara no Chiko found that she was the last to arrive. Miyamoto Akichi and Sasaki were already waiting there. The two stood on the left side of Matsumoto Takeyoshi, while Hattori Chihiro stood on the right side. Fujiwara no Chiko saluted Matsumoto Takeyoshi and stood with Miyamoto Akichi and Sasaki without hesitation. Hattori Chihiro smiled and didn't speak. After standing still, Fujiwara no Chiko was surprised to find that although the main cabin was very spacious, it wasn't luxurious. Instead, the furnishings were very simple. In addition to a tea table, there was only a tatami for sleeping and 3 futons. It seemed that the two masters, one in blue and one in white, were guarding Matsumoto Takeyoshi day and night. This simple layout showed 2 points. First, it was transparent and could be seen at a glance. There was no place to hide. In this way, no one could hide here to assassinate Matsumoto Takeyoshi. Second, she heard from her master, Ito Takeyoshi, that one could tell whether a person had a complex mind by looking at the layout of the room. The variety of furnishings in the room often meant that the owner's mind was simple and empty, and needed complex furnishings to fill it. On the contrary, if the layout of the room was very simple, it meant that the owner's mind was very detailed and complex, and needed a simple environment so that the mind wouldn't be affected by those complex things. It seemed that Matsumoto Takeyoshi belonged to the latter. What? Miss Chiko and Mr. Hattori have a grudge? Matsumoto Takeyoshi, who was sitting on the futon, asked with a smile. How did Mr. Hattori offend Miss Chiko, to the point that Miss Chiko was so angry that she used Chiho? Matsumoto Takeyoshi picked up the teacup and took a sip. Sure enough, she was being watched. Fujiwara no Chiko was shocked. She maintained her calm expression and looked at Hattori Chiyo, who was standing opposite her. Hee, Hattori Chiyo laughed. I only mentioned that I wanted to see Miss Chiko's Chiho, but I didn't expect Miss Chiko to misunderstand that I wanted to take Chiho for myself. Miss Chiko misunderstood. Misunderstood? Fujiwara no Chiko sneered. Mr. Hattori, didn't you say that if I didn't hand over the Chiho to you, you would tell Mr. Matsumoto? Now, in front of Mr. Matsumoto, you can say it. Tell. Matsumoto Takeyoshi laughed. What happened? Misunderstanding, just a misunderstanding, Hattori Chiyo quickly said. Didn't you say that I wanted to kill Mr. Matsumoto? Fujiwara no Chiko asked coldly. This was just a joke. Miss Chiko, you don't have to take it seriously. Hattori Chiyo was a little embarrassed. Bam! Matsumoto Takeyoshi slammed the teacup on the table. Nonsense, he said with a serious face. We're facing a great enemy, and you're still in the mood to joke. Hurry up and apologize to Miss Chiko. Yes. Hattori Chiyo immediately bowed to Fujiwara no Chiko. Miss Chiko, I'm sorry. Fujiwara no Chiko turned her head to the side and did not say a word. All right, Matsumoto Takeyoshi said. It's time to get down to business, Matsumoto Takeyoshi said solemnly. We'll reach the Great Ming Dynasty in a few hours. When we arrive, the four of you will split into two groups and carry out different missions. Matsumoto Takeyoshi waved his hand, and a waiter came over with a tray. On the tray were red, white, blue, and green envelopes. The waiter handed the 4 envelopes to the 4 of them. What's written in the letter is your mission. You can open it when you return to your cabin, Matsumoto Takeyoshi said. Mr. Miyamoto and Mr. Sasaki are one group. Mr. Hattori and Miss Chiko are another group. Remember, you have to work together sincerely and no more nonsense. The 4 of them listened and nodded. In order to make it easier for you, I'll assign 8 ninjas to each group, and give each of you 1,000 taels of gold as expenses. Matsumoto Takeyoshi continued. In a dozen days it will be the Chinese New Year. On the 15th night of the first lunar month, regardless of whether the mission is completed or not, you have to gather on the ship. Understood? Yes. The 4 of them answered in unison. Go back and rest, and prepare to disembark. Matsumoto Takeyoshi waved his hand, and the 4 of them left. On the way back to the cabin, the 4 of them were all preoccupied with their own thoughts and did not speak. It was obvious that the 4 of them had different missions, and the reason they were divided into 2 groups was to keep an eye on each other. Fujiwara no Chiko thought to herself, that was a close call. Luckily, Mr. Hattori cooperated well with me. Otherwise, I really don't know how to end this. Everything went as Mr. Hattori expected, and they were divided into 2 groups to carry out their missions. But she did not expect Matsumoto Takeyoshi to use such a despicable method to assign missions. This way, the 4 of them would be suspicious of each other and keep an eye on each other. No one would be able to act alone. After Fujiwara no Chiko returned to the cabin, she opened the red envelope she was given. A few lines of words came into view. It read, After disembarking, you and Mr. Hattori will rush to the Tsuaming Hall headquarters to meet Chui Ziwen. He will lend you 2 a hand. Secretly follow and monitor Yi Kong's son, Yi Fan, and find a way to obtain something from him. Long wooden box. After obtaining it, do not open it. Keep an eye on Mr. Hattori. 7 days later, work together with the people from the Tsuaming Hall to obtain the Yi family's weapon forging manual, regardless of the cost. After Fujiwara no Chiko read the letter, she was immediately flustered. The Yi family mentioned in the letter was none other than the family of her master, Ito Fumio's good friend, Yi Kong. Chapter 58. 4 hours later, the warship docked at the dock. It was winter, so there was no one at the dock. For this trip, Matsumoto Takeyoshi had ordered his men to dock the warship at a remote dock so that it would not attract too much attention. More than 10 people disembarked from the warship. Other than the 4 leading them, the rest were all dressed in black winter clothing. They were Matsumoto Takeyoshi's ninja troop. The 4 leading them were Fujiwara no Chiko and the others. Each of them was wearing a white cloak. The 4 of them nodded to each other and quickly separated. The ninja troop also split into 2 groups and followed behind the 4 of them. You guys, go buy some local clothes and some mules and horses. We're going to disguise ourselves as a foreign caravan. Understand? Hattori Chixio said to one of the ninja leaders. Yes. The ninja leader replied and waved his hand. The 4 ninjas behind him immediately went to carry out the order. Hattori Chixio took out a sheepskin map and opened it. Tsuaming Hall. Hattori Chixio searched for the location of the Tsuaming Hall on the map. This map was given to the 4 by Matsumoto Takeyoshi. It showed the distribution of the major sects in the Central Plains. Got it. Hattori Chixio pointed at the map and said, If we hurry, we'll be there in half a day. Mr. Hattori and I will leave first. You lead the rest of the people and rush over at the normal speed. We'll leave some markings along the way. Fujiwara no Chiko said to the ninja leader. Yes. the ninja leader replied. Matsumoto Takeyoshi had instructed them to listen to the two of them. Remember, this is the territory of the Ming dynasty. There are all kinds of people here. Don't give yourself away. Fujiwara no Chiko reminded them. The ninja leader nodded. At this time, the sky was still dark. Fujiwara no Chiko and Hattori Chixio both used their movement technique. They tapped the ground with the tips of their feet and rushed in the direction indicated on the map. The two of them used the land flight technique and flew for a full 2 hours before they finally came to a stop. At this point, they had already walked more than 100 miles. At this time, the sky was already bright, and there was already a bustling city in front of him. He could no longer continue using his movement technique. Otherwise, it would alarm the people and cause unnecessary trouble. In light of this, the two of them spent a lot of money to buy 2 fast horses and continued on their journey without stopping. Less than 4 hours later, the 2 horses finally stopped, panting heavily. There was a huge and towering stone tower in front of him, with cornices and arches. It was very imposing. The 3 gilded words, Golden Battle Palace, were written in bold and vigorous strokes. It should have been written by a famous master. What are we doing here? Fujiwara no Chiko asked. Based on the map, this is Tsuaming Hall's headquarters. Hattori Chixio got off his horse. Gambling house? The headquarters of the Tsuaming Hall is located in the Tsuaming Hall? Fujiwara no Chiko was shocked. The Tsuaming Hall was indeed mysterious. It was actually hidden in the gambling house. There was a lot of turnover in the gambling house, and the gamblers came from all over the country. It was indeed a good place to hide. The two of them tied their horses and came to the entrance of the Golden Battle Palace. At the entrance, 2 guards, one fat and one thin, reached out and blocked their way. Fujiwara no Chiko turned to look at the two of them. Is this the first time the two of you have come to the Golden Battle Palace? The thin and tall man asked. What? Isn't this a gambling house? Fujiwara no Chiko asked. It seems that the two of you don't understand the rules here, the fat man said. If you want to gamble here, you must first check your banknote. The minimum amount is 1,000 taels. If you don't have 1,000 taels, you are not qualified to gamble here. Therefore, I would like to ask the two of you to take out your banknotes and let us check them. Hattori Chixio took out the 1,000 taels banknote and handed it to the thin and tall man. The thin and tall man was surprised when he saw it. It was not the amount of money on the banknote that shocked him. The people who came here to gamble were either rich or noble. Not to mention 1,000 taels banknote, even tens of thousands of taels banknotes were common here. What made him surprised was the origin of the banknote. This banknote was different from ordinary banknote. Rather than calling it a banknote, it was better to call it a gold medal. The entire banknote was made of pure gold and had the words, Great Ming Gold Banknote, cast on it. On both sides of the gold word were 2 golden dragons that were extremely exquisite. The thin and tall man and the fat man were able to check banknotes here. Naturally, they were experienced and knowledgeable. When the two of them saw the banknote, they were shocked and immediately respectfully returned the banknote with both hands. In their hearts, they knew that this banknote was an item of the palace. Only the members of the imperial family had it. The reason was that the members of the imperial family liked to travel incognito when they had nothing to do. Ordinary banknotes could not show the nobility of the imperial family. Later on, the Great Ming Gold Banknote was created. With this banknote, one could overdraw 10 times the amount of money at any bank. After overdrawing, the bank could go to the Imperial Household Department to withdraw the money. This banknote was convenient to withdraw money and also showed the imperial family's grandeur. Naturally, it was favored by the members of the imperial family. Even when the emperor rewarded meritorious officials, he would reward them with bank notes to show his favor. The reason why Matsumoto Takeyoshi let them carry the banknotes was to make it easier for them to do things and to reduce the trouble. It was very simple. No one would be stupid enough to provoke the members of the imperial family. When Fujiwara no Chiko received the banknotes, she was very surprised. She knew that Matsumoto Takeyoshi had already infiltrated the great Ming dynasty. However, she did not expect that his power had already infiltrated the Ming imperial palace. Now, it seemed that some of the members of the imperial family of the great Ming dynasty had already colluded with Matsumoto Takeyoshi. They were like snakes and rats in a nest. Hattori Chishiong received the banknotes and put them into his bosom. Then, he and Fujiwara no Chiko walked into the Dojin palace. After entering, Fujiwara no Chiko was shocked by the luxurious decorations in front of her. Compared to this place, the Japanese imperial palace could be said to be a thatched hut. The entire stone building had a total of 9 floors. All of them were built with fine bluestone. The floor was polished with white marble and was spotlessly white. The walls were covered with gold leaf. Under the illumination of the glazed glass palace lanterns, it appeared to be dazzling. Not only that, all the tables and chairs here were carved with precious Phoebesian wood. It was luxurious and elegant. Even the dice used for gambling were made with ivory. Unlike the noisy and lively scene of other gambling houses, the people who came here to gamble were very quiet. They talked and laughed freely. It was completely different from the hysterical appearance of those common gamblers. Every table here was filled with gold and silver coins. These gold and silver coins were the chips of the Dojin Palace. A silver coin represented 1,000 silver taels, and a gold coin represented 10,000 silver taels. Fujiwara no Chiko casually looked at a few tables. From the number of chips on the tables, she could see that each table had at least a few 100,000 silver taels. The two slowly walked to the counter where the chips were exchanged. The clerk at the counter was dressed in luxurious clothes and was very polite. "How many chips would you like to exchange?" "We are not here to gamble," Fujiwara no Chiko said calmly. "We are here to visit your master Chui." "Miss, we are a gambling house," the clerk at the counter said with a smile. "There is no such thing as Master Chui. You have come to the wrong place." "What do you think this is?" Hattori Chio said in his stiff Chinese. He took out a gold coin and put it on the counter. The gold coin was the size of a walnut. Unlike other gold coins, there were 2 ancient golden characters engraved on it. Mi Ming. When the clerk at the counter saw the gold coin, he was shocked. He carefully picked up the gold coin and carefully examined it. During the process, the sharp-eyed Fujiwara no Chiko saw that on the other side of the gold coin, there were also 2 ancient golden characters engraved on it. Annal. Fujiwara no Chiko did not know about the existence of this gold coin. It seemed that Matsumoto Takeyoshi had given Hattori Chio many different tasks. One of them was to monitor Fujiwara no Chiko. After the clerk at the counter finished examining the gold coin, he handed it to Hattori Chio with both hands. "Please wait here for a moment. I will go and report." After he finished speaking, he whispered a few words to someone beside him and turned to go upstairs. "What's with that gold coin?" Fujiwara no Chiko saw that there were outsiders present and asked Hattori Chio in Japanese. "Hee," Hattori Chio laughed. "It is said that there are many masters in this Tsuaming Hall. Each one of them has unique skills. The 4 great guardians of the Qi, Mei, Wang and Liang, have unfathomable levels of cultivation. As for this Tsuaming Hall's headmaster, Chui Ziwen, it is said that he has cultivated the body of a half-immortal. His cultivation has reached the acme of perfection. He once personally forged 3 gold coins and distributed them. He also spread the word that whoever obtains one of them will receive his help and grant one of their wishes. The one you saw just now was one of them. Matsumoto Takeyoshi placed it in the envelope he gave me. Since he has such a high level of cultivation, He should have retired from the Jianghu and stood aloof from worldly affairs. Fujiwara no Chiko asked, why would he do such a senseless thing? I heard that Cui Ziwen had an extremely difficult life. Later on, by chance, he was accepted as a disciple by the Maoshan sect's headmaster, Lu Ji. This person is extremely intelligent and has amazing talent. Within a few years, he was chosen as Lu Ji's successor. However, things did not go according to plan. The night before he took over as headmaster, Lu Ji suddenly died. The murderer was none other than Cui Ziwen. Hattori Chiyo took a sip of the fragrant tea that the waiter had served him. Good tea. Looks like someone framed him, Fujiwara no Chiko said. At that time, all the evidence pointed to him. Cui Ziwen could not defend himself, Hattori Chiyo continued. Coupled with the pain of losing his headmaster, he turned into a demon out of hatred. His temperament changed drastically. In the end, he stole the Maoshan sect's secret manuals and built this Tsuaming Hall. Looks like you know a lot about me. Suddenly, a man's voice came from upstairs. It was deep and full of magnetism. After hearing this, the two people's expressions changed drastically. Judging from the voice, it came from the top floor. Even though they were 8 floors away, the voice could still be heard clearly. Chapter 59. While the two of them were deep in thought, a deep voice came from above. Let's talk upstairs. Fujiwara no Chiko and Hattori Chixio looked at each other and immediately got up and walked up the stairs. There was an endless stream of people coming and going up the stairs on the first 3 floors. These 3 floors were all casinos, and each floor was more luxurious than the last. The 4th to 6th floors were used to store gold, silver, and jewels. There were no gamblers here, only a large number of internal members transporting gold, silver, and jewels. The 4th floor was full of gold and silver ingots, the 5th floor was full of antiques, calligraphy, and paintings, and the 6th floor was used to store gold and silver note. As expected of the Dojin Palace, the wealth here was like goods, and it was not an exaggeration to say that it was as rich as a country. As for the 7th and 8th floors, Fujiwara no Chiko found that they were all living quarters, and the internal members lived here. Everything was very luxurious. Finally, they arrived at the 9th floor, and the two of them stopped in front of a huge stone door. Knock, knock, knock. Hattori Chixio reached out and gently knocked on the door a few times. Rumble. The stone door opened. The two of them immediately had a wide view. Compared to the luxurious rooms on the other floors, this was simply an ordinary room that could not be more ordinary. There were no furnishings inside, and it was completely empty. The floor and walls were covered with smooth wooden planks, and there was a huge Western-style fireplace on the side wall. The fire in the fireplace was blazing, and the thick firewood crackled, making the whole room very warm. In the middle of the room was an exquisite Persian carpet, and on the carpet was a very wide and luxurious dragon chair carved out of green jade. 9 green dragons were entrenched on the chair, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, and it was very majestic. The back of the chair was facing the door, and from where the two of them were standing, they could not even see Cui Ziwen's back, let alone see him. Opposite the chair was a huge, thick glass wall, and it was crystal clear, and the view was very wide. Fujiwara no Chiko sighed in her heart. This Tsuaming Hall was really rich and overbearing. Not to mention other things, just this glass wall alone would cost at least tens of thousands of taels of silver to make. Moreover, only a skilled European craftsman could make such a transparent glass wall. Thinking of the high-nosed, blue-eyed foreign gamblers in the Dojin Palace, the Western-style fireplace and the crystal-like glass walls were not strange. At this time, it was snowing heavily outside. Looking out through the huge glass wall, the snowflakes were swirling in the air. It was like a snowy country. Greetings, Master Cui. Fujiwara no Chiko was the first to speak after the two entered the room. An arm stretched out from the side of the azure dragon chair. The fair hand in the sleeve of the golden-threaded green robe snapped its fingers. Before the two of them could react, the gold coin in Hattori Qianxiong's pocket flew out of his pocket and into the hand of the man. "Speak, what is it?" Cui Ziwen said from behind the chair. The gold coin flipped back and forth between his slender fingers. It was very agile. "Under the orders of my master, Matsumoto Takeyoshi, I hope that Master Cui can help us on account of your friendship with my master," Hattori Qianxiong said. "Matsumoto Takeyoshi? Sit at the same table?" Cui Ziwen said slowly from the azure dragon chair. "When?" "Ha!" Hattori Qianxiong laughed. "Master Cui, you are so forgetful. My master, Mr. Matsumoto, once traveled all over the Central Plains in search of famous people. When he was touring Mount Longhu, the Maoshan sect leader at the time, Zhenren Lu, and Master Cui sat at the same table as my master and discussed the classics. So that's what you're talking about." Cui Ziwen played with the gold coin in his hand as he said, "Is your master the one who donated 1,000 taels of silver as incense money to the Maoshan sect?" "Yes," Hattori Qianxiong replied. "If I remember correctly, his surname is Li, isn't it? Why, is he from Dongying?" Cui Ziwen asked casually. "Master Cui, you have a good memory," Hattori Qianxiong said. "My master's identity is special, so it was inconvenient for him to reveal his true identity. Please forgive me, Master Cui." "What does he want from me this time?" Cui Ziwen's tone was impatient. He hated people who tried to play tricks on him, both in the past and in the present. "He needs Master Cui's help with." Hattori Qianxiong paused. "Armament crafting manual." "Armament crafting manual?" Cui Ziwen stopped flipping the gold coin in his hand. "The Yi clan's armament crafting manual?" Fujiwara no Chiko's heart skipped a beat when she heard that. "Yes," Hattori Qianxiong said. "I'd like to ask for your help, Master Cui. If Matsumoto Takeyoshi has subordinates like you, why would he need to ask me for help? Can't he just let you do it?" Cui Ziwen continued flipping the gold coin in his hand. "Both of you have high levels of cultivation, and both of you have divine weapons. There's nothing you can't do." Fujiwara no Chiko was shocked when she heard that. Cui Ziwen could sense the flaming sword and Chiho's blade without even turning around. This person's level of cultivation had already reached the pinnacle. Hattori Qianxiong was shocked at first, but he immediately smiled and said, "Master Cui must be joking. I'm sure you know the strength of the Yi clan better than I do. Not to mention the head of the Yi clan, Yi Yun, the rising stars of the Yi clan are very difficult to deal with, especially Yi Yun's son, Yi Kong. It's said that he's a rare genius. It's said that he's been taught a supreme sword technique by an extraordinary person, and there's no one who can compare to him. Coupled with Yi Yun's high level of cultivation, it's really difficult to do it with just the two of us." Hearing the two words Yi Kong, Fujiwara no Chiko tried her best to remain calm, but her heart still thumped wildly. The Central Earth friend that Master Ito Fumio mentioned was this person. What should she do if she met him in the future? "Matsumoto Takeyoshi definitely has more than just the two of you under him, right?" Cui Ziwen asked. This? Hattori Qianxiong didn't know how to answer. "I'm not interested in your matters." Cui Ziwen changed the topic and said, "Since you have my gold coins, I'll help you this time." "Thank you, Master Cui." Hattori Qianxiong said. "Chi Yao." Cui Ziwen softly spat out these two words. As soon as Cui Ziwen's voice fell, a black fog appeared behind him. From the black fog, an elegant and handsome man with a white face walked out. "Master." The man bowed. This man was one of the 4 guardians of the Tsuaming Hall, Chi Yao. "Did you hear everything just now?" Cui Ziwen said coldly. "This." Chi Yao was a little embarrassed. "Yes." "When are you going to make a move against the Yi clan?" Cui Ziwen suddenly asked. 7 days later. Fujiwara no Chiko replied. Hattori Shinshion glanced at Fujiwara no Chiko. In the letter, he only mentioned making a move against the Yi clan, but did not mention a specific time. It seemed that he didn't know everything. This was also where Matsumoto Takayoshi's brilliance came from. 7 days later, you will help the two of them snatch the weapon forging manual from the Yi clan. Do you understand? Cui Ziwen said. Yes. Chi Yao replied as he turned to look at Fujiwara no Chiko. His eyes flashed with lust. Fujiwara no Chiko frowned. It seemed that Chi Yao was a lecher. Don't make the same mistake again. Cui Ziwen seemed to know what Chi Yao was thinking. Otherwise, I won't let you off. Yes, master. Chi Yao immediately replied. See the guests out, Cui Ziwen ordered. The two of you, we will meet again in 7 days. Chi Yao turned to the two of them. As he spoke, he sized up Fujiwara no Chiko. Hattori Shinshion and Fujiwara no Chiko nodded to Cui Ziwen and Chi Yao, then turned and left the room. Only Cui Ziwen and Chi Yao were left in the room. Master, are we really going to go against the Yi clan? Chi Yao asked. When have I ever gone back on my word? Cui Ziwen said casually. After we get the weapon forging manual, should we bring it back to you? Chi Yao did not forget to curry favor with Cui Ziwen. Give it to them after we get it. I'm not interested in the weapon forging manual. Cui Ziwen waved his hand. You may leave. Yes. Chi Yao turned into a cloud of black smoke and disappeared. Song Ben Wu Ji, Cui Ziwen muttered to himself as he flicked the gold coin in his hand into the air. Buzz! The gold coin made a crisp sound as it spun in the air and fell to the ground. But after he caught the gold coin in his hand, he exerted a little force with his right hand. Suddenly, a red light flashed in his hand. The gold coin in his hand instantly bent and melted. Chapter 60. 2 hours later. White Cloud Inn. What are we going to do next? Hattori Chihiro finished the wine in his cup. The two of them were sitting in a single room by the window on the second floor. Hattori Chihiro ordered a table full of food and wine while waiting for the 8 ninjas to arrive. What's wrong? Didn't you say anything in the letter? Fujiwara no Chiko did not eat because she was wearing a veil. There are only 3 things in my mission, Hattori Chihiro said as he poured himself a cup of wine. Use the money to get the Tsuaming Hall to help. Get the weapon forging manual, and keep an eye on you. Now that the first task is done, the Yi family's weapon forging manual will have to wait for 7 days. As for keeping an eye on you, I'm sure that's part of your mission as well. Let's go to Yi Kong's place next, Fujiwara no Chiko said to Hattori Chihiro. Yi Kong. Hattori Chihiro was surprised. Why are we going there? Wouldn't we be alerting the enemy at this time? Our target this time is not Yi Kong, but Yi Kong's son Yi Fan, Fujiwara no Chiko said. Why? Are we going to use his son to threaten him? Hattori Chihiro asked. My mission said that we have to get his belongings. It's a long wooden box, Fujiwara no Chiko said honestly. I don't know what it is either. A long wooden box? Hattori Chihiro suddenly became excited, his eyes filled with greed. The Yi family is famous for their weapon forging. What else could be in this long wooden box? It must be a weapon forging manual, Hattori Chihiro's old habits were acting up again. Do you want to take it for yourself? Fujiwara no Chiko raised her eyebrows. That depends on what kind of treasure it is, Hattori Chihiro said. If it's a rare weapon forging manual, I won't let it go. Why would I give it to Matsumoto Takayoshi? Aren't you afraid of the 2 experts by his side? Fujiwara no Chiko reminded him. I have the flaming sword and the Yi clan's divine weapon. The 2 of them will have to think twice before dealing with me, Hattori Chihiro said with a smile. Furthermore, this is the Ming dynasty, not Dongying. It was not Matsumoto Takayoshi's place to give orders in other people's territory. Speaking of which, he promised me that as long as I helped him get the Great Ming Empire's divine weapon, he would let me choose any other divine weapon. You sure have a good plan, Fujiwara no Chiko said with a smile. That's why we need to work together to complete the mission as soon as possible and gain Matsumoto Takayoshi's trust. Hattori Chihiro filled the glass again. I've said it before, I admire your father's character. If you want revenge, I'll definitely help you in secret. Why should I believe you? Fujiwara no Chiko asked. I'll tell you the truth. Matsumoto Takayoshi definitely didn't just send the four of us to carry out the mission. When we were at sea, I faintly felt that there was a very powerful force hiding on the ship. However, I didn't find any trace of it, Hattori Chihiro said seriously. This force is not to be underestimated. To be frank, even if the four of us worked together, we would barely be able to fight this force to a draw. What? Fujiwara no Chiko was shocked. Are you telling the truth? You practice swordsmanship, so of course you wouldn't be able to sense it. However, I practice special technique. Even though this force tried its best to hide its presence, I still sensed it. Hattori Chihiro's next words made Fujiwara no Chiko's heart skip a beat. By the way, there was something wrong with the wine we drank in front of the statue. What did you say? Fujiwara no Chiko asked nervously. There was something wrong with the wine? That's right, and it was a very powerful goo poison, Hattori Chihiro said. Didn't Matsumoto Takayoshi drink that wine too? Fujiwara no Chiko frowned. There was nothing wrong with the wine, the problem was with the cup, Hattori Chihiro explained. If I'm not wrong, if we don't return to the ship on time on the 15th day of the first lunar month, the three of you won't be able to keep your lives. The three of us? Fujiwara no Chiko frowned. Didn't you drink it too? Ha ha ha, Hattori Chihiro laughed. I've seen more poisons than you've seen people. When I drank that cup of wine, I secretly poured it on my black robe. Can you cure this poison? Fujiwara no Chiko asked. When I returned to the birth cabin, I studied the goo poison on my robe. However, Hattori Chihiro sighed. This poison is too complicated. I can't cure it in a short time. You said that you wanted to help me. Then why didn't you tell me that the wine was poisoned when we drank it? Fujiwara no Chiko questioned. How would I know that you were Fujiwara Kaga's daughter? Hattori Chihiro replied. Fujiwara no Chiko was speechless. Don't think too much, Hattori Chihiro advised Fujiwara no Chiko. You're still safe for now. As long as you complete the mission, you'll definitely get the antidote for Matsumoto Takayoshi. I'm afraid that after we complete the mission, Matsumoto Takayoshi will get rid of us after we've outlived our usefulness, Fujiwara no Chiko said. He won't. Hattori Chihiro put a mouthful of food into his mouth. Seizing the Yi clan's weaponsmithing manual is only a small step in his plan. His goal is to seize the divine artifact of the Central Plains, and from there, gain control of the Ming dynasty. Now that he's in need of people, he won't easily abandon the four of us. Fujiwara no Chiko nodded without saying a word. As the two were talking, they suddenly heard the sound of camel bells outside. Hattori Chihiro opened the window and saw 3 camels, 5 horses, and 8 ninjas. All of them were dressed in Ming dynasty attire. Our people have arrived. Hattori Chihiro glanced at the ninja leader downstairs as he spoke. The leader nodded slightly at Hattori Chihiro upstairs. Then, in fluent Chinese, he called for the waiter to bring the horses and camels to the backyard. Then, he led the group into the inn. Tell them to leave immediately after 4 hours, Fujiwara no Chiko said. Hattori Chihiro walked out of the room, closed the door, and went downstairs to make arrangements. Hattori Chihiro understood. If he was present, Fujiwara no Chiko, who was wearing a veil, would not eat at all. After Hattori Chihiro left, Fujiwara no Chiko ate a simple meal. The exquisite and delicious dishes tasted like wax in her mouth. Although she was careful, she still fell into Matsumoto Takeyoshi's trap. Fujiwara no Chiko's mind was in a mess. On one hand, she was poisoned. On the other hand, she had to steal the treasures of the son of her master's close friend. On the other hand, she had to deal with the Yi clan's experts in 7 days and seize the weaponsmithing manual. Fujiwara rubbed her head with her hand, trying to calm herself down. She had to think of a way to get the best of both worlds. Not only could she protect the Yi clan, but she could also extricate herself from this matter. However, after thinking for a long time, she still could not come up with a good plan. Now, she could only take one step at a time and deal with it as it came. 4 hours later, Fujiwara no Chiko and Hattori Chihiro led the caravan and horse caravan on the road. The caravan and horse caravan were in front of the caravan, while the two of them followed from a distance to prevent the 8 ninjas from eavesdropping on their conversation. What do you think about the Tsuaming Hall incident? Hattori Chihiro was the first to break the silence. According to my observation, that person called Chi Yao may have designs on you. Humph, Fujiwara no Chiko sneered. If it wasn't for Cui Ziwen's face, I would have dug out his eyes. This Chi Yao's movements are ghostly, and his whole body is evil. You still have to be careful. After all, this is the great Ming dynasty, not Japan. I don't think he would dare, Fujiwara no Chiko said. However, that Cui Ziwen really lives up to his reputation. In the Dojin Palace, I couldn't sense even the slightest bit of his aura, Hattori Chihiro said. I've seen many experts, but I've never seen an expert like this. That's right. This person's cultivation is unfathomable. Could it be that it's like the legends say, that he's close to becoming a half-immortal? As Fujiwara no Chiko said this, an idea suddenly appeared in her mind. If she had a gold coin from the Tsuaming Hall, perhaps she could ask Cui Ziwen to help her kill Matsumoto Takeyoshi. If Matsumoto Takeyoshi can really obtain this person's help, then adding on the strength of the Tsuaming Hall, perhaps the great Ming dynasty will really fall into his hands, Hattori Chihiro said. You're looking down on the great Ming dynasty too much, Fujiwara no Chiko said. The great Ming dynasty doesn't only have Cui Ziwen as an expert. Not to mention those experts who live in seclusion in the mountains, just those experts from the famous sects are hard enough to deal with. If it's that easy to obtain the great Ming dynasty, perhaps Cui Ziwen would have already ruled the world. What you say makes sense, Hattori Chihiro said. However, Matsumoto Takeyoshi isn't a fool. Without a trump card, he wouldn't covet the great Ming dynasty. The trump card in his hand is that evil god called Xietian. Fujiwara no Chiko changed the topic. Speaking of Xietian, what does Mr. Hattori think? In front of the statue, Mr. Hattori actually lowered yourself to kowtow? The reason why I said that Matsumoto Takeyoshi might be able to obtain the great Ming dynasty is because of this, Hattori Chihiro recalled. That day, when the door of the shrine opened, I felt an extremely cold, evil, and domineering aura. This aura came from that statue. The moment Matsumoto Takeyoshi kowtowed, this aura became even stronger. Even the 2 experts beside Matsumoto Takeyoshi, one in green and one in white, had serious expressions as they kowtowed. Naturally, I followed their lead and kowtowed. After Hattori Chihiro finished speaking, he looked at Fujiwara no Chiko and laughed. At that time, the 3 of you looked at me with disdain, but in the end, hee. This power is indeed domineering. It was actually able to force the 3 of us to the ground. Fujiwara no Chiko said with a frown. The 2 experts, one in green and one in white, are already troublesome enough. Adding on the protection of this evil god, if I want to take revenge, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. That's not necessarily the case, Hattori Chihiro said. China has an old saying, evil cannot suppress good. If there is an evil god, there will naturally be a righteous god. Since ancient times there has never been an evil god. That's true, Fujiwara no Chiko said. Do your best and leave the rest to fate. Hattori Chihiro used Confucius's words to comfort Fujiwara no Chiko. Fujiwara no Chiko nodded. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.